Stars return. The NFL's most valuable player from last year, Emmitt Smith. He'll do whatever it takes to help his team win games. And Troy Aikman has become the quarterback of the 90s. Talented, tough, consistent. But the man who led this team to dominance, motivational leader Jimmy Johnson, is gone. Enter former Oklahoma coach Barry Switzer, who feels confident that he could get the job done.
I inherited an opportunity to coach the best professional franchise in professional sports. I have enough confidence in myself and what I've been able to accomplish in my professional career to establish that.
Repeating as champion in the NFL is incredibly difficult. There are many obstacles blocking a team's path to victory. But Switzer believes a third straight championship is possible.
I think that there's no question it's realistic. The odds people say are very against it. I don't believe in long odds. I believe in good players playing good. The talent level is what really separates football teams, and if they stay healthy, and I believe in luck.
It's the world champion Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Oilers as football comes to Mexico City on an ABC NFL preseason special. The flag of Mexico flies high over Estadio, Azteca, Mexico City, the world's second most populated city, for 21 million, and it's a city caught up in a national election, and for tonight, at least caught up in American football. An incredible sight, a historic one. The largest crowd ever to watch an NFL game is rapidly filling this huge arena. 109,000 fans expected tonight, and that will eclipse the previous NFL high of 105,000 for a college all-star game back in 1947. Hello again, everyone. Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan Deerdorf. Happy you're with us to share this scene tonight. The Houston Oilers and the Dallas Cowboys preseason action, but you feel a lot more than that right now. Both these teams made changes during the offseason. Houston, their most notable change at quarterback when they sent the very gifted and talented Warren Moon up to Minnesota, and Cody Carlson, who's been waiting in the wings for 7 years, is center stage tonight. He is the quarterback for the Houston Oilers, and we'll see a lot of him this evening. Meanwhile, the Dallas Cowboys, they made a lot of changes. The most notable change for them was at the top when Jerry Jones, the owner, decided to part ways with his friend, the charismatic one, Jimmy Johnson. And Al, it was hard to believe when I first heard they took Barry Switzer. But Barry Switzer, been out of football for 6 years, never coached pro football, a very unlikely choice.
Is sprightly 56 years old, but he's really looking forward to the challenge. Not only are they missing Jimmy Johnson, who led them to 2 Super Bowls, keep in mind, too, they've lost their offensive coordinator, Norv Turner. He is now the head coach at Washington. And 5 men who started in their Super Bowl victory against the Buffalo Bills last winter are also gone. But the heart of the offense remains Troy Aikman in the prime of his career, Emmitt Smith seeking a 4th consecutive rushing title, and Michael Irvin, who has been hurt, recovering from shoulder surgery and is not expected to play tonight here in Mexico City. One thing is clear, they'll be the most analyzed and scrutinized team in the National Football League this season. And another thing is clear, Jerry Jones, the owner, has gone out on the longest limb in the recent history of the National Football League. Plenty of changes with Dallas, and also, Dan, plenty of changes for a team, the Houston Oilers, that ended last season with 11 consecutive victories.
You're right, Al. And by the way, if they need to be analyzed and scrutinized, it's a good thing we're here.
We'll do it.
Boy, and you're right about the Houston Oilers. A lot of changes, some of them by free agency, some of them by trades. Free agency, maybe the biggest one might have been not a player, but a coach. Buddy Ryan is gone. He's now the head coach of the Phoenix Cardinals. In his place, Jeff Fisher. It'll still be the same 46 defense. It's just a new and different personality behind the steering wheel. Now, as far as the quarterback situation, Frank touched upon it. Warren Moon traded to Minnesota. For 10 years, Warren Moon led this team. He led them to the playoffs for 7 consecutive years. He took himself to the Pro Bowl for 6 of those years. Cody Carlson has 14 starts in the National Football League during his 7 years. In those 14 starts, he was 10-4, and I think it's on that stat that the Houston Oilers are really gambling a great deal on their future.
A big story tonight with the weather and the rain we've had this afternoon is the field. And down on the field to give us the update is Lynn Swan. Lynn?
That's right, Al. It's been raining all week here in Mexico City, and as a result, this field has become very soft. When you run on it, it just gives completely. As a result, I talked to Barry Switzer, and he said he is not going to start Emmitt Smith in this ball game. He doesn't want to take a chance on the premier running back in the National Football League coming up injured in this preseason game. Al?
All right, thank you, Lynn. This field appears ready for Woodstock 3 at the moment. When we arrived here earlier this afternoon, it was in great shape, but it has rained. It's rained hard, and the field not in the best of shape right now. Dallas to receive. Al Del Greco will kick off. Barry Switzer looks on as Del Greco will send it skyward in the direction of Kevin Williams and Brock Marion. Williams, number 85. Again, a new rule in effect this year. The kickoff to take place from the 30-yard line. 5 yards further back, and with flashballs popping all over the place, here we go in Mexico City. The kick is fielded by Kevin Williams. Out past the 20, he has to run gingerly because of the turf, and he is tackled at the 23, and you're going to see that all night long because of the field conditions. Troy Aikman has played 2 series in preseason. In each, he has led the Cowboys to a touchdown. Barry Switzer wants to play him a little bit more than that tonight. Lincoln Coleman starts with Darryl Johnston in the backfield. Novacek is the tight end. Willie Jackson is a good-looking rookie out of Florida. Kevin Williams on the other side. Tuanay, Newton, Hellestrae, Kennard, and Eric Williams up front. Mark Stepnoski, their regular center, still recuperating from his surgery last year. From the 23, Aikman to put it up, and he's going to drop it off for Coleman, who goes nowhere. He's tackled for a 3-yard loss by the cornerback, Darrell Lewis. Here's the Houston defense now with Ryan Gahn and Jeff Fisher, the defensive coordinator. Kenny Davidson is the ex-Oiler. Childress, a great one. Montgomery and Lamar Lathan. They're missing Jones and Fuller, who have left. Robinson, Smith, and Barrow are the linebackers. Dishman, one of the best in the league, and Darrell Lewis. McDowell and Orlando are the safeties. A secondary that was oft injured last year, but when healthy, one of the best, if not the best, in the National Football League collectively. On 2nd and 13, Aikman throws, and it's incomplete because Tim Daniel
goes down. He wasn't even planting the right foot hard. Up during practice, it rained before.
Third down and 13 on the opening drive. And slides to a halt at the 24-yard line. And it will be 4th down and 9. And the crowd.
Never played this game, but one thing about this kind of a field, when it's wet and slick like that, and much contact this season, the risk of a pulled groin is very, very real. A pulled groin could be weeks out of action. The Cowboys can ill afford that.
John Jett to punt. Troy Aikman, after leading his team on those 2 touchdown drives in the first 2 games, is 3 and out. That's Travis Hanna back to accept the kick.
We've seen only 3 plays, and look at that. The field, carnage is the only way to describe it.
It'll be total mud by halftime. Hanna backs up, fields a good kick at the 27-yard line, gets a block, and is tackled at the 43. Good run back by Travis Hanna after a 46-yard kick, a 16-yard return. And here comes Cody Carlson, finally getting his moment in the sun with the departure of Warren Moon in his 8th year out of Baylor. Gary Brown, the sudden star last year, who took over for the injured Lorenzo White. Then Jeffries, Coleman, and Givens are the 3 wideouts, and they'll employ a tight end this year, Pat Carter. Hopkins, Flannery, Bruce Matthews, one of the greats, Kevin Donnelly, and David Williams, he of Babygate fame last year, the offensive line. First down, Houston at the 43-yard line. They'll score a minute and 48 seconds into the game before the biggest crowd ever to watch an NFL game, 108,000 plus in Mexico City. Here's Gary Brown with room on the outside, and then coming up to drag him down is Darren Woodson. And an Oiler is shaken up near the Cowboy bench. It is Gary Brown, slow in rising. The Cowboys defensively. Tolbert, Maryland is back, and so is Lett. They were hurt last week, and so is Haley, who was out last week because of a bad back. Edwards, Jones is the man in the spotlight, taking over for the departed Norton and Smith. And then Kevin Smith and Brown on the corners with Woodson and James Washington, the Super Bowl hero, the safeties. And what a shot. Azteca Stadium in the southern section of Mexico City.
And what a shot for the Houston Oilers. Gary Brown can hardly make it back over to the Oilers sideline. He's still only about 10 yards from the Dallas bench where he slid in after getting around the corner. Let's take a look at the end of the play and see if we can see it. Well, you can see Darren Woodson comes right up the back of the legs of Gary Brown. Looked like an ankle or something got caught underneath, but I know the guy right here who's saying, boy, I did the right thing, is Barry Switzer, watching the Houston #1 running back come off the field, thinking about his decision with Emmitt Smith.
There you see the tackle, and Gary Brown is very fortunate this is a soft field, and that cushion, that twisting torque on the ankle, and I think it might have saved further damage.
Spencer Tillman is the new running back, the backup to Gary Brown, and on 2nd and 6. Carlson protected well, throws, Tillman makes the catch, first down, into Dallas territory, spun down at the 34-yard line by Darren Smith. Spencer Tillman almost retired. He's going to be someday a great television commentator. He said, I can still make more money in football this year than I can in television. That's why he's back.
Good protection for Cody Carlson, and this is an offensive line, not like the one that Warren Moon has worked under and behind for so many years. Missing is Mike Munchak. He's not there. Doug Dawson has gone off to Cleveland. Don Maggs retired last year. A very different offensive line. Don Maggs went to Denver last year, so it's much different.
Brown's back in the game. He takes it on a delay and picks up 3, gets to the 31-yard line, and Robert Jones, a man, as I said, in the spotlight, number 55, the middle linebacker, 2 years ago, the #1 choice. A flag is down on the last play, but he will be, and when we talk about the Cowboys scrutinized and analyzed, he in particular. Jerry Markbright is the referee.
Esperando. 5-5. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Well, that's holding on number 55, John Flannery, the left guard, and Jerry Markbright getting right into things.
5-5 on the left side of the screen, 55.
There he is. He's taking his man to the inside. We can't see his arms from that angle, but either Jerry Markbright or the umpire did. I wonder if that's what we've got in store for us all night tonight.
That was Juan Flannery called for the foul. 1st and 20. Another flag is down. The catch is made by Haywood Jeffries, who has changed his number. Curtis Duncan used to wear 80. Jeffries was 84.
There's another flag down, Al, so we get to hear Geraldo again. You're on the spot, Geraldo.
Well, this is against the Cowboys, offside.
Offside, number 92, defense. 5-yard penalty, first down.
Back to a more conventional translation here as Tony Tolbert is the man called.
Jack Pardee on the right, Barry Switzer on the left. Tony Tolbert. Top of your screen, number 92. The leading sacker for the Cowboys a year ago. And they walk off 5.
It's a 1st and 10 for Houston at the Dallas 39. Just the start of things in Mexico City with no score. The Cowboys with 3 and out on their first possession. Carlson rifles one right on the money to Pat Coleman. To the 27, a gorgeous shot. In Mexico City right now, it's about 7:15. They are on Central Standard Time, which is the equivalent of Mountain Daylight Time. In other words, it's the same time in Denver as it is in Mexico City right now.
We are very high. The elevation here around 7,300 feet. That's tough on the players with the minimal amount of oxygen in the air. The good news is that it's very cool. My guess right now after the rainstorm is that the temperature is somewhere in the upper 60s.
Makes our booth about 8,300, right?
Yeah, we might be 8,300 feet. We are a long way above the field.
2nd and 5. And this is Brown looking for room through the middle. Comes close to picking up a first down. It is cool, and it may surprise some people, even though a first down is, as indicated here, Mexico City in the center of Mexico. Acapulco is always thought of as a hot spot, and it's 95 there normally in the summer, but here it rarely gets above 80 in the summer.
We are on a very high plateau, and the hotter air is down below us. If this was a regular season game and players had to play the entire game, the lack of oxygen in the air would certainly come into play, especially for the running backs and wide receivers. These guys would be searching for air that wasn't there.
First down, Houston from the 24-yard line. This is Brown again, picking up 5 on a good-looking drive to this point. He takes it to the 19-yard line with 9:15 to go in a quarter.
I point out we will not be watching Webster Slaughter tonight. He is still rehabbing with a knee injury from a year ago. Reconstruction surgery for Webster Slaughter, the leading receiver for the Houston Oilers of a year ago, as we look at Gary Brown, who really came on in the second half of the season a year ago, and Lorenzo White came up with a pulled hamstring. Good story around the NFL. Gary Brown didn't have a yard after the 6th game, but he wound up a 1,000-yard rusher.
Second and 6 from the 19-yard line. Brown again, no gain here. Just to finish the Brown story, Frank, Lorenzo White not only lost his job, but was offered a contract by Houston. They said, hey, listen, come on in, and you got to be his backup, and Lorenzo hasn't signed with anybody at the moment.
No, he's an unrestricted free agent. The Oilers would certainly like to have him back. As we look at Kevin Gilbride, their offensive coordinator, they would love to have Lorenzo back. Their feeling is that White is probably letting the preseason play itself out, see if someone on another team gets a catastrophic injury, puts them in desperate need for a running back. His value then goes way up.
Third down and 6 at the 20-yard line. It may seem like a heartless thing to do, but it's the reality of it.
It sure is.
Third and 6. Carlson going deep and too deep, and there was good coverage. Ernest Givens was the intended receiver, and Kevin Smith was there to cover on the play.
Kevin Smith and Larry Brown, two of the fine cornerbacks in the league. And with James Washington emerging and Darren Woodson coming on, a fine secondary for Dallas. But Dan is a tougher on the pass rusher than the pass protector on this kind of a field.
I think it's probably tougher on the pass rusher. Getting good solid footing for both of them is tough, maybe a little tougher. The plant foot for the field goal kicker is going to be a spectacle here.
38-yard attempt for Al Del Greco. And it's a wobbly kick that still makes it through.
I don't know.
Line drive.
I don't know how, but did you see Del Greco? That plant foot slid forward on him. I have no idea how he made this. Watch it. Look at that. He slides right on through it. Somehow still has enough to muscle it through.
(1994) Lincoln and Mercury automobiles.
Azteca Stadium in Mexico City before the biggest crowd ever to watch an NFL game. It's the second time that the NFL has actually come here. In 1978, the Philadelphia Eagles played the New Orleans Saints in a much smaller stadium. But back they've come with 108,000 looking on.
It's an unusual configuration for a stadium. You think of the Rose Bowl, Michigan Stadium, which are big bowls which spread out. This stadium is vertical. The seats aren't that far from the field. You know, linearly, it is how far above the field you are. This is a big, tall structure.
A stadium that was built in 1968, utilized during the Olympics, but was not the main Olympic stadium. Del Greco, who somehow was able to boot that field goal, sends his kickoff down to the 11, and Kevin Williams breaks it for Dallas and brings it back out to the 46 before this partisan crowd in Mexico City. They love the Dallas Cowboys. 7:38 to go in the opening quarter. 3-0 Houston.
Like a slug looks forward to the rain. I'm talking about the NFL season. I'm talking about brawn and brain. Reggie White, Steve Young, Barry Foster, and players with much longer names. Yeah! I'm looking forward to the season, and especially the two-point conversion. I wrote that.
They are so excited about this. There is the Mexican version of Sports Illustrated, Deporte Ilustrado, featuring Dallas against Houston. Available at your local newsstand.
Get a good look at those white jerseys. There won't be many white spots left on the guys that are doing the bulk of the playing. Much towards the end of the first half, the condition of this field.
1st and 10 Dallas. They begin this drive from their own 45, and wide open is Kevin Williams. He seeks that first down and is very close. As you look at Michael Irvin, who had shoulder surgery, he has not played in preseason yet. They do anticipate he will play next week against Denver. And Alvin Harper also has a shoulder problem, which he suffered early in training camp. He has yet to play, but both practice this week and are expected to play against Denver on Sunday.
And it's opened a window of opportunity for some youngsters. Willie Jackson from Florida, Corey Fleming from Tennessee. We'll see them later.
Darrell Johnston. And how about this crowd? They know the Cowboys in Mexico City. He gets the ball, and you hear 108,000 people, or a good many, chant Moose.
You know, I think a lot of this goes back to Tex Schramm, who originally, back in the 60s, really marketed into Mexico with the Mexican radio network, and these are Cowboy fans, and it was fun, wasn't it, Dan, when the Cowboys came out, the roar that went up from this stadium, and then Houston came out, the boos, it just poured out over the field.
Well, it's when you consider that Houston is actually closer to Mexico City than Dallas, it is 98% Dallas and a few lone stragglers for the Oilers.
Moose,
here they go again.
That is great.
Well,
takes it to the 31st down.
The power of television. All the Sunday afternoon games are down here. The Monday night contests are all televised live here in Mexico City. This is a real NFL hotbed. And how about the evolution of this guy as a player? Known predominantly early in his career as a blocker, but he's grown into a gifted receiver. 50 receptions last year, and shows there that he can run with the ball. Darrell Johnston rewarded last year with a trip to the Pro Bowl, and much deserved.
Houston leading 3-0. Cowboys driving. 5:40 to go in the first quarter. Aikman throws, and a wrestling match. It's nearly and probably intercepted by Darrell Lewis after Kevin Williams initially appeared to have possession and had it taken away.
Oh, the Oilers love to see this. Darrell Lewis coming off major knee surgery, along with another member of that secondary, Robertson. But watch this. It looked as though Kevin Williams was going to come away with the football. Good effort by Lewis. Darrell Lewis with the interception.
Tinactin presents Tough Enough. What NFL coach was tough enough to take on a new team and engineer the most dramatic turnaround of last season?
Hey, hang around locker rooms like these guys, and you're bound to run into athlete's foot, and it could get tough. See, you get that itching and cracking stuff, and look, boom, even burning. Now that's a really tough case, and that's when you want a medicine that acts tough. Boom, tough-actin Tinactin. You see, Tinactin cures even tough cases of athlete's foot fungus. It's clinically proven. No wonder it's the antifungal most recommended by pharmacists. Hey, you got a tough case of athlete's foot? Get this. Boom, tough-actin Tinactin.
When Dan Reeves took over the New York Giants, no one gave his new team much of a chance. But the tough, no-nonsense Reeves rebuilt the team's confidence. They roared back with a winning season and a playoff victory. Dan Reeves is a tough act to follow.
They've intrigued you. They've amused you. Now they want to date you.
Hey, I'm your date.
Announcing the HBO Sure Thing Sweepstakes. Win and take your chances with one of these dream dates. Easy, boy.
No habla escargot. I'm bilateral.
Brilliant. Or take the Sure Thing. Free HBO for life plus $1,000 every Saturday night for an entire year. See details in the August 29th issues of TV Guide and People magazine.
I don't get it.
What a surprise.
The world's top male gymnasts compete for all-around honors at the Hilton Gymnastics Challenge. Plus the Trevor Stakes live Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
And we appreciate the welcome. And they were cooking a whole bunch of those chili peppers up and down downtown streets today.
We appreciate on my list of no-nos. I don't know about you.
We appreciate the welcome and the warning.
Houston has it after the Lewis interception at the 12.
Oilers leading 3-0. Carlson, a wide open Pat Coleman, who just has enough for the first down before Kevin Smith gets credit for the tackle. The Oilers, and a flag is down on that last play, minus Webster Slaughter, he's still injured, minus Gary Wellman, he's out till probably October, and Pat Coleman will play
personal
a bigger
foul,
role.
roughing the passer, number 55, defense. 15-yard penalty, tacked on to the end of the play. First down.
Good effort by Coleman. Again, the field coming into play there. Also might point out that Curtis Duncan, with 41 receptions a year ago for the Oilers, he is no longer an Oiler. He's up at Green Bay.
Well, they called number 55. Actually, it's number 95. Chad Hennings, the defensive tackle, is the one who throws Cody Carlson to the ground. He ID'd 55 Robert Jones, the middle linebacker, but you can see that it was Henning. And that is a rather sizable penalty, pushing the ball all the way out over beyond the 40-yard line up to around the 42.
First down at the 42-yard line with 5:05 to go in the quarter. And on a delay, here is Brown to the outside. I'm wondering, Dan, if that new rule wasn't applied in that case by Mark Wright in terms of roughing the passer.
They are tightening up the free step that they used to give defensive linemen in hitting the quarterback. It used to be that you got a one complete step, and that is no longer the case. They do not want to see the quarterback take the punishment that he has taken in the past. And I think you're right, Al. That's a case of Mark Wright serving notice that what flew in 1993 is not flying in 1994. It's that way in a lot of different things, but that was one manifestation of it right there in the way you can rush the quarterback.
2nd and 6. Good protection for Carlson. And he swings one out to Pat Carter, the tight end, the new look tight end of the Houston Oilers, a man who figures to see a good deal of action this season. And Carter, coming from the Rams, was not used so much as a receiver there, but he wanted to catch the football, and he was such a good blocker that was pretty much his role with the Rams. And the Oilers sat down and they looked over the tight ends around the league, and of about the 3 that they wanted, he headed the top of the list, and so they were able to get him.
Took a big shot at the end there from James Washington, and you could see them carrying on a discussion on their way back to the huddle. Watch for that to flare up.
From the 45-yard line, and Carlson, with that play clock running down, has to take a timeout.
Well, Dallas showed the blitz. You saw a safety and a linebacker up in the hole, and Cody said, I think I better talk this one over.
And the crowd didn't like the stoppage. What a bully.
Pals and Family Matters, get ready for a new comedy that's kind of different. Find out how different on our own this fall after America's Funniest Home Videos.
Are you ready for the football?
Hank Williams, eat your heart out.
That was shot this morning at our production meeting.
Houston at the 45-yard line after that timeout, and Carlson gets sacked to the delight of the crowd. Jim Jeffcoat, the venerable, never to retire Jim Jeffcoat, gets the sack.
He just seems to, you don't want to say just get better with age, but here's a man who every year goes to training camp, and the Cowboys staff has said, well, I don't know that we're going to get another year out of Jeffcoat, and every year he not only makes the team, but he ends up being a major contributor. And this year, Barry Switzer is delighted to have Jim Jeffcoat. There he is on the bottom. He just throws Brad Hopkins out of the way and makes his move back to the inside. This guy has been the consummate professional for a dozen years in this league, and the young kids can learn a great deal from being in the shadow of a Jeffcoat.
8-yard sack, 2nd and 18, middle screen, Gary Brown, good blocking, banged down hard at the 40, 5 yards shy of the first down, tackled by Godfrey Miles. It'll be 3rd and 6.
Well, Miles was the first guy on the tackle, Al, but did you see the hit that James Washington laid on him? James Washington can make the case that he should have been the Super Bowl MVP, and we have seen him lay on 2 big shots so far in this ballgame. He wants people to recognize him as one of the most ferocious hitters in the league. Caused kind of a problem at Dallas during the week when he laid out Alvin Harper during practice, and drew the ire of Barry Switzer and Troy Aikman and some of the offensive people.
3rd and a long 5 from the 40. Again, the line does a very good job. Gibbons makes
the catch, and his forward progress does net him a first down. As they'll spot it at the 33, Kevin Smith drove him back, but it's a first down for the Oilers.
Givens getting up very slowly.
When you have one big hitter in any group, don't you agree, Frank, that it rubs off on everybody else? This is a big hit by Kevin Smith.
Oh yeah, and Washington has brought a little more than that to the Cowboys. He'll talk some talk with you too.
That's not going low on a guy. That's putting your helmet right in his chest. That's just a textbook tackle by Kevin Smith.
From high above, Cody Carlson at the helm is 6 of 7 for 69 yards. Gary Brown picks up about 6. That shot is provided for us from the speaker system, which is suspended over the middle of the playing surface. There it is. I guess we'll call it, what, sombrero cam?
And should have punt happened to hit that, and it well could. It's not that high. The Ray Guy rule will be brought into effect. And the play will go over again. Any foul on that play will be enforced. But it was back in '76. You were playing in the Pro Bowl, Dan, when Ray Guy was punting. And I think he deliberately tried to do it. He worked at it all week.
And he did it. And it was a remarkable sight.
And then Swan was in that Pro Bowl also.
Final minute of the quarter, 3-0. Dallas shows blitz, and they keep it on the ground. And Gary Brown exploits the defense for a big gain to the 10-yard line. Tackled by Darren Smith.
And Gary Brown is fine. He is just sucking air. He really is. 7,000 feet of altitude. He's going to take a little breather. 2 carries in a row. But one thing he is proving tonight, he is a pretty good mutter.
Yep,
he runs very flat-footed. He's handling it just about as good as you could handle this kind of a field. He wants a little breather, however.
Well, you look at the guy chasing him, Darren Smith. Well, Brown outweighs Smith by about 15 pounds. The Cowboy linebackers are small, and Gary Brown is a solid 240 pounds, and he has got remarkable lateral quickness and breakaway speed for a man that size.
If he were a horse, he'd have that big mud mark next to his name in the racing form. Of course, if he were a horse, he'd be in college football. End of the quarter in Mexico City. Houston 3, Dallas nothing. And back we come after this on our ABC stations. Azteca Stadium in Mexico City. Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Deerdorf. Monday Night Football south of the border. The biggest crowd ever to watch an NFL game. 108,000 and change looking on. Houston, as they start the second quarter, begins at the 10-yard line. 1st and 10 just outside the 10. They lead 3-0. And Spencer Tillman takes the ball now to about the 5-yard line, and a marker is down. Jerry Marquardt officiating the game, signals holding against the offense, the Oilers.
Holding, number 77, offense, 10-yard penalty, first down.
Well, that time it's Kevin Donnelly, the right guard for the Houston Oilers, who gets the flag. Jack Pardee looks on, a man who has won everywhere he has coached.
And everywhere he played.
Yep. Kevin Gilbride now not looking over his shoulder to see if there are any right crosses on their way. Calling the plays from the sideline. He's in communications with his quarterback, Cody Carlson.
1st and 20 from the 21, and over the middle. It's incomplete, intended for Reggie Brown, second-year receiver out of Alabama State. James Washington is slow in getting up for the Cowboys.
Carlson put that in between linebackers and really put it on the string. Good effort. Had a Cowboy in his face just off the fingertips. Kind of hard to judge receivers on this kind of a field. They certainly are much slower than you anticipate and then you have worked with over the course of the week.
2nd and 20 at the 21. Houston leading 3-0. Carlson throws, and making the catch inside the 10 is Ernest Gibbons. Takes it to the 9-yard line. Can you imagine Gibbons catching a touchdown pass and going into the electric glide here?
I think the crowd would respond in a big way. They have responded to everything else. This stadium was close to being filled a full hour before kickoff. 2 hours before kickoff, it was probably 50% of capacity. They cheered the cheerleaders. They cheered the grounds crew. They gave a standing ovation to a single player who came out 2 hours early just to warm up.
Amazing scene.
And now they must not like what I was saying.
3rd and 8. Carlson steps up, throws, and it is not picked off in the end zone. Kevin Smith on the ground, and the ball hit the turf. So 4th down, and Del Greco comes in to try to tack on 3. Pat Coleman was the intended receiver.
Remember the last time Del Greco attempted a field goal, he made it. It won no style points. And a good look at the ball, being handled cleanly initially by Smith, but then he lost control of it and it hit the ground.
Camarillo has a better spot on the field to place this ball than he did a few moments ago. It should be a relatively easy chip shot.
26-yard attempt, and it is good. Rich Camarillo, the holder. 3 more for the Oilers. 13:52 left in the opening half. Houston 6, Dallas nada. On Sunday, it's playground ball. As from the courts of Harlem, where it all began, we'll bring you the 1994 National Summer Basketball Championship. And then a week from tonight, we'll go from Mexico City to Kansas City, where the Chicago Bears visit Joe Montana and the Chiefs. And we're back on at 8 o'clock Eastern Time and 5 Pacific next Monday. And then, of course, during the regular season, as always, 9 o'clock Eastern and 6 Pacific.
And it was Montana, I think, that changed a big picture for Houston a year ago in the playoffs, with the Houston Oilers going into the playoffs for the 7th consecutive time. Montana with a 3-touchdown playoff game, knocking the Oilers out of the playoffs again, 28-20.
Oilers with a good drive, culminating with the Del Greco field goal. Frank talking about what happened last year. The Oilers have made the playoffs. As you look at Marion and Williams back to receive Del Greco's kick, they've made it 7 straight years, but they've not gone so far as the AFC Championship game, much less the Super Bowl. And they are one of the few teams now remaining that have never played in a Super Bowl. Del Greco sends it to the 10-yard line. Kevin Williams, one of the elite run-back artists in the league, brings it back to the 29. Ernie Zampese, the new offensive coordinator. He tutored Norv Turner. Turner moved on to Washington, and Ernie goes from LA to Dallas.
Hello from Plank Road, where our man Paul...
You got Ice House in a can? Well, then you better let it out.
Ice House is now in cans. These superb cylinders are crafted from space-age aluminum, covered with awe-inspiring 2-dimensional graphics, and chock full of ice-brewed Ice House. Plus, they're easy to stack, easy to hold, and if you've got a cooler, they're easy to keep cold. Thanks, and enjoy Ice House in cans.
NFL Monday Night Football preseason special. Brought to you by Burger King. Value every day. Have it your way.
Mexico City, and the big story has been the condition of the playing surface.
Boy, and that's a good look at how bad the field is. And there's George Toma, the groundskeeper in residence for the National Football League, for years in charge of everything in Kansas City. And I'm afraid that he's fighting a losing battle. They're trying to put it back together as quickly as it comes apart, but I think there's a little more stress put on the field by a 350-pound offensive lineman than by a 160-pound soccer player.
And a little stress put on here by Lincoln Coleman, who powers his way up to the 37-yard line on his 250-pound plus frame. Picks up about 7. Jeff Fisher taking over for Buddy Ryan as the defensive coordinator for the Oilers, but pretty much employing much of the same system anyway.
You talked about Ernie Zampese tutoring Norv Turner, who was the offensive coordinator until he went to Washington for the head coaching job. It was Jeff Fisher who tutored under Buddy Ryan, played under Buddy Ryan, came from the 49ers this year to take over the defense when Ryan went to Phoenix.
2nd and 2. Aikman picks up the first down to Jay Novacek. The tight end makes his first catch of the night up at the 42. Look at Aikman, and of course in '89 he came in as the rookie Jimmy Johnson had taken over. Jerry Jones owned the team. 9 TDs, 18 picks. The next year a little bit better. 91 considerably better. 92 fabulous. Last year 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Better and better through the years. The only man to improve over a longer period of time each season would have been Y.A. Tittle from 58 through 63. And here is Coleman up to the 48-yard line, a man who figures to see a lot of playing time tonight as he had during the regular season or during the preseason at this point because of the field condition and Emmitt Smith's absence.
Well, you mentioned one name, by the way, Al, that has a lot to do with Troy Aikman and his improved passing numbers, and that is the evolution of this awesome running attack. Part of the credit goes to Emmitt Smith, obviously, but part of it goes to that tremendous offensive line that he's had in front of them, too. This is as finely attuned all-around offense as the NFL has ever seen.
Here is Coleman, and he rides a couple of Oilers into Houston territory and picks up a first down. He's looking a lot better tonight than he has in preseason thus far.
And the remarkable thing about this Dallas Cowboy football team, Dan, is this is a team that has won 2 Super Bowls, but is pretty much still intact. If they have a little weakness, it's perhaps they're just a little thin.
Great look right there at one of the key members, number 79, Eric Williams, the right tackle. He is just in his 4th year, and here is a guy who has really, I think, staked his claim to being the best right tackle in the game of football. Only 324 pounds, a rather tidy guy.
And Williams got into a wrestling match with Dishman, and neither man comes up with the ball. Incomplete, 2nd and 10 with 11:10 to go in the half. 6-0 Houston.
Talk about Williams being 324. You go right down that line. All the starters are over 300 pounds. Dishman, one of the better man coverage defensive backs in the league, and you see why. Reaching around, he might have got a hand on the back, and that's going to draw a lot of flags this year. But good defense by number 28, Chris Dishman.
Novacek in motion, 2nd and 10 for the Oilers 46. Here is Coleman, and the hole closes in a hurry. Number 94, Glenn Montgomery, is there with Joe Bowden coming up from his linebacking spot. Aikman, when they play Denver on Sunday, will play, according to Barry Switzer, the whole half and probably a series into the second half as they tune up for their regular season opener. 3rd down and 9 at the 45-yard line. Four-man rush. Good protection. Troy goes too deep. Tim Daniel is the suggested target.
It's hard to judge a receiver in this kind of a field. The receiver that you've worked with all week long, all during training camp, is not making the same kind of cut for the football. And it's tough on the quarterback. He sets up and he's reading something entirely different. And these coaches are not seeing what they wanted to see in a preseason game. There's a lot of hoopla, 109,000 people and all that here in Mexico City. But both coaches, Jack Pardee and Barry Switzer, are looking at these players and getting ready to make some pretty tough decisions.
John Jett kicking. Travis Hanna back to receive it. Hanna calls for a fair catch at the 12-yard line. From that spot, will the Oilers begin their next drive with 10:21 remaining in the half. 6-0 Houston.
And the Chiefs host the Chicago Bears. It's an NFL preseason special next Monday night on ABC.
Fabulous architecture here in Mexico City, Constitution Square, and the presidential palace of particular significance this week, in as much as the presidential election will be held here on Sunday. The Institutional Revolutionary Party has been in power here since 1929. Ernesto Zedillo is their candidate. And we'll find out who will be Mexico's next president in 6 days.
One-term presidency here in Mexico.
6 years. Houston has it at the 12-yard line. 10:17 remaining. in the first half. And Cody Carlson, who's been on target tonight, is on again. A nice catch is made by Ernest Gibbons, a 9-yard pickup up to the 21-yard line.
And really, that's the type of pattern I think that both teams ought to start to go to. The advantage really falls to the receiver in a sloppy field like this. He knows where he's going to cut, and I think it comes into play here as Larry Brown falls down and trying to cover Gibbons. He's nowhere in sight, and I think we're going to see an awful lot of wide open receivers as this game goes along.
2nd and 1. Oilers at the 21-yard line. Gary Brown picks up a first down. Down to the 24. Robert Jones makes the tackle.
No question about it, Dan. This is a receiver's field. A receiver loves to get a defensive back on this kind of a field. You can run down and just give it a 5 or 6 yard stop if you want to, a little cut to the outside. The defender has no footing whatsoever on this kind of a field. Great for ball control, but again, the coaches would like to see certain things. They'd like to put things into their offense, into their defense that they wanted to work on tonight. They're just not getting the opportunity that they wanted.
It's going to be a lot more difficult for the coaches to make a fair assessment of what their players were doing tonight. It's going to be a lot harder.
1st and 10 for the 24. Carlson again on target, and Hayward Jeffries makes the catch and picks up close to 8. One thing they're going to be happy with is the way Carlson is throwing the football tonight.
That's the little stop I was talking about. The defensive back has no shot. You're on an artificial surface. Larry Brown is a fine man-for-man defender, and he would have been much closer to Jeffries on that one.
Well, you know what you do. You run 3 or 4 of these patterns right here, and then you come right back with the old out and up, where you make your break to the sideline and try to, and he'll be trying to smother that thing, and then you just head downfield, and you might find yourself 20 yards behind every other defensive guy.
2nd and 2. Carlson is 9 of 12 for 97 yards.
He better hurry.
Yeah, play clock is down to 1. And Carlson is down at the 26. Leon Lett with the sack.
Big cat. Can play inside, he can play outside, and he can play it both well.
He really has been forced to play defensive tackle, and he plays it so well. But with his agility and his speed and his size and range, I'm not sure that his natural position wouldn't be defensive end. But with Charles Haley to the outside, he's really not needed there. But Leon Lett has developed into one of the fine defensive tackles in the game of football. This guy, when he's on his game, is almost unblockable.
3rd down and 8. From the 27. Carlson comes back this way to buy some time and then throws, and the pass was there, and Reggie Brown makes a circus catch.
And not a bad throw either. Carlson coming out of the pocket, sloppy field on the run, got it into the area where Brown could get his hands on it. But a fine catch by Brown. And the first down. Reggie Brown, 2nd-year man out of Alabama State, getting an opportunity because of injuries to receivers of the Houston Oilers, making real fine effort there.
Man on the spot, Jerry Jones with his new head coach. And Jerry was very instrumental in having this game played in Mexico City. He wanted the Cowboys to appear down here, and it's really a shining moment for him and the whole Cowboy organization with 108,000 and change looking on tonight. Rodney Peete is the new quarterback, and Lincoln Coleman, who came into the game averaging a minuscule 1.9 yards per carry, looks good again as pickup of 7. Lynn Swan, how's the field looking to you?
Well, obviously it's not getting any better, so I talked to George Toma, who was down here in May, and made some suggestions on how to improve the field. For some reason, they couldn't make those changes. He says the only thing he can do is replace the divots. He's wishing for Michael Jackson from the Super Bowl 27 halftime with the 6,000 people that took the field to come in and stomp it down in halftime to give it any kind of a chance.
Don't think it's going to happen. As Coleman running laterally, no gain or a minimal 1 at best. It'll be 3rd and 2 or 3.
Cowboys are really looking for Coleman to improve. Came into camp a little overweight. We talked about that a little earlier, but he had a terrific day before a national audience on Thanksgiving Day when Emmitt Smith was out with a pulled hamstring. Remember the snowy field? He showed that he could perform well on a bad field, and he's getting an opportunity tonight.
But the bottom line is, with Derek Classic out 3 to 4 months, if anything were to happen to Emmitt Smith, the Cowboys have no choice but to go out and find a running back. Lincoln Coleman isn't the guy that can carry a football.
He couldn't afford a very good one.
3rd down and 3. Rodney Peete throws incomplete, intended for Kevin Williams over the middle. And a marker is down, and we may see interference here. Jury marked right. Checking things out with the side judge.
Illegal contact foul on number 28, defense. 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Jeff Fisher upset because Chris Dishman was whistled for this foul here.
We talked a while ago how they tightened down the one step a defensive end can get in hitting the quarterback. One of the other things they tightened down was this 5-yard zone. Chris Dishman can make contact inside, but he can't make it outside, and obviously he rode Daniel well beyond the 5-yard limit, and that might have flown last year, but again, no chance in 94. That'll bring the flag every time.
And his movement. I see no, well, yes, there is a flag coming in late. There was all kinds of movement along the line of scrimmage. Eddie Robinson was one of those who jumped.
Keep in mind the rules that were put in for 94 were to aid the offense.
Offside, number 50, defense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
You know, the officials have been around to the camps, Dan, but I think particularly someone like Chris Dishman, a very physical cornerback, is really going to be hurt by it. He has been coached this. He has got away with it for the past few years. Now, all of a sudden, it's not a new rule. They're just going to enforce the rule that's been there.
And you don't blame every defensive back in the league for going ahead and stretching the rules if you're not going to get called. Let's face it, you're going to do everything you can do to manhandle that guy in front of you. But they have been very upfront in saying, we did let you get away with it in the past, but no longer.
1st and 5, Rodney Peete. A deep retreat, throws, the catch is made. It's Lincoln Coleman. He has it up to the 45-yard line. A first down with 2:25 remaining in the first half, and Houston ahead 6-0. The official attendance tonight is 108,376. It is the biggest crowd pre-regular postseason ever, anywhere, anytime, any game to see a National Football League contest.
I think it's fascinating, too, that there are no assigned seats. They let everyone in, and they go to a certain section, and they take the best seat they can get.
We have reached the 2 minutos warning. 6-0, Houston.
They've intrigued you. They've amused you. Now they want to date you.
I'm your date.
Announcing the HBO Sure Thing Sweepstakes. Win and take your chances with one of these dream dates. Easy, boy.
No habla escargot. I'm bilateral.
Brilliant. Or take the Sure Thing. Free HBO for life plus $1,000 every Saturday night for an entire year. See details in the August 29th issues of TV Guide and People magazine.
I don't get it.
What a surprise.
Days, people who really understand money carry the Discover Card. That's because the Discover Card Cashback Bonus Award is just that. Cash. Everyone can use more cash, and there's no annual fee. That's why the Discover Card is the choice of people who really know the drill. It pays to discover. Accepted wherever you see the Novus Network sign.
Get ready for a high-flying, rim-rattling showdown. The Kings of the Court will be crowned at the National Summer Basketball Championship Sunday on ABC.
Until tonight, the biggest crowd ever to see an NFL game, a preseason game, the College All-Stars against the Chicago Bears at the old version of Soldier Field, 105,840. And after this play, we'll show you the other records and the new one that's been established tonight as Coleman picks up only 2. The largest crowd for a regular season game was at the LA Coliseum in 57, 102,368. Now, of course, it's much smaller. And when the Rams met the Steelers in Super Bowl 14 at the Rose Bowl, 103. But tonight, there it is, 108,376, the biggest ever. Rodney Peete over the middle, and the catch is made in Oiler territory at the 43 by Kevin Williams.
Dan was just yawning over here, having played in Michigan. It was just 107 every time he went out there, wasn't Dan?
Yeah, Michigan averages 107,000 a game. The only thing comparable to the kind of crowds that we're seeing here tonight. There goes Darrell Johnston, and again, this crowd showing their knowledge and recognizing personalities from above the border. The Cowboys own this territory. And the Cowboys, by the way, moving the ball better in these last couple plays, better than they have shown the entire first half.
Less than a minute to play in the first half. Rodney Peete nearly slipped, regains his footing, incomplete, flag down in the secondary.
Illegal contact foul. Number 29, defense. 5-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
There, Lewis.
That's Darrell Lewis, who had the knee surgery off season. Made a terrific interception early on.
Kenny Wolf, our producer, is just telling me that the NFL has called to say that the official attendance now should be 112,376. So they originally announced it at 108, and somehow they have found room for 4,000 more bodies. 112,376. I hope
the lecture goes better.
Yeah, that's what I do too. I know I was going to say, I'm hoping that's not a precursor for Sunday down here.
Well, I believe that they're hiring an international firm, I believe, to count the votes in their presidential election. This is growing by leaps and bounds.
Stay tuned.
We'll see if it stays here for a while.
You might accept a few hundred. We're talking 4,000 they lost somewhere.
Well, they announced to the crowd 108,376, and we'll have to amend that. 112,000 watching. 2nd and 10. At the 33 is Rodney Peete. That's incomplete, intended for the good-looking rookie Willie Jackson. Contact there with Darrell Lewis.
Well, Willie Jackson has had a great camp. Rookie out of Florida, 4th-round draft pick. Not all that fast, but he's made some great catches in training camp.
Lexus halftime report. We had a chance to visit last night with Barry Switzer, the new Cowboy coach, and Paul Tagliabue, the commissioner, will drop by for a brief chat to talk about football south of the border on a big night for the NFL. 3rd and 10. Peete throws. Good catch is made by Kevin Williams. Boy, he's looking good tonight. Inside the 20 to the 17-yard line. 36 seconds remaining in the half, and timeout is taken by the Cowboys. It remains 6-0 Houston.
Now, at the Olive Garden, come try our new Capellini and Chicken Siciliano meal for only $7.95. Baskets of fresh baked breadsticks, unlimited garden fresh salad, and our new mouth-watering Capellini Pomodoro. With fresh Roma tomatoes, extra virgin olive oil, and fresh basil. Plus our new zesty grilled chicken Siciliano. Freshissimo! All this for a short time only for just $7.95.
Right now!
Only at the Olive Garden.
When do you use Thompson's?
Every year since 1981. Every fall for 5 years.
Without Thompson's, water invisibly weakens surfaces. Suddenly you've got damage.
10 years.
And we never replaced a single board.
Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofer, the seal of success.
Hey!
cold filtered Miller Genuine Draft. The cold one. For those who've discovered its smooth draft taste,
You know, I've been looking for that.
the world is a very cool place. So get out of the old and get into the cold.
Salida Dos, one of the vomitories here at Azteca Stadium. They are filled to the gills. Of course, some of those people, I think, standing there just waiting for the first half to end and be first in line for the concession stands and restrooms and the rest.
What we'll see here at the end of this game is the mother of all traffic jams.
Meanwhile, Rodney Pete's got a good drive going.
First and 10 from the 17, and he overthrows with a flag down a wide open Coleman Bell. Marker at the 16-yard line.
Dallas is walking backwards like this is against them.
False start, illegal snap on number 61, offense. Prior to the snap, no play, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Nate Newton.
Well, that means that there's no loss of time on the clock because it was a dead ball play happening before the snap of the ball. It never occurred.
That's what Mark Wright's
Don't
asking
start
for.
the clock for 4 seconds after the snap to adjust. Thank you.
I think Jerry, realizing that it might be too much trouble to reset the clock, tells them to just not start it for 4 seconds after the beginning of the play. Little creativity there on Mark Wright's part. A pretty good move.
You must have been watching the same clock we've been watching.
One has 31. There's another clock in the stadium that has 32 seconds. It's like the World Cup. Catch is made at the 19-yard line, and it's Kevin Williams pushed back and a little shoving, and Darrell Lewis gets into it. And Swisher's right in the action. Look at Barry. Meanwhile, the clock is still running, and it finally stops at 16.
Now we're going to have to go ahead and reset this clock once again because the whistle blew. Well, Mark Wright says now it's a timeout Dallas, but still some time ran off that clock after the whistle had.
This is a 40-second timeout.
Barry can let. Yeah. I'll tell you, it's not a good idea for Barry to get involved in too many tussles this year. He has a very bad neck and back that's plagued him for years. And
the clock should have 22 seconds on it. The clock should read 22 seconds.
One now reads 16, the other 17.
I think Jerry has thrown out.
Don't start the clock for 5 seconds.
Well, things have been going pretty well until now, but it's a bizarre end to this first half here. And a reminder that our 25th season begins in earnest and officially on the night of September 5th. That's Labor Day night. It's the Raiders and the 49ers. It's a great opener. So if you're going to be away for the Labor Day holiday, you might think about heading home a little early on Monday night, September the 5th. Raiders, 49ers.
There are teams that could go all the way. Raiders looking awfully good.
2nd and 15. Incomplete. Rodney Peete under a lot of pressure. Eddie Robinson provided it.
Eddie unscathed on his journey through the Dallas offensive line, and Rodney Pete's face in a hurry.
15 seconds on the clock. Please hold the clock for 3 seconds.
Well, the clock operator was instructed to hold it for 5 seconds last time. He didn't. So now he's being asked to hold it for 3 seconds this time. A fine piece of chronometer juggling down here by Jerry Martin.
but if you don't believe in the mathematics, we're showing you one clock. The other did say 12. That's why he said hold it for 3. He's looking at the clock that says 12 seconds. There's the clock Mark Wright's looking at. It's 3rd down and 11 at the 18-yard line.
And the clock started right away, of course.
And the catch is made by Williams, and he is out of bounds at the 14-yard line. Somewhere around 6 seconds remaining.
Again, a good catch by Kevin Williams. He's having a great preseason with both the Harper and Irvin unable to go with shoulder problems. Watch this. Cornerback just frozen there. Tried to get back into the play, and it's going to be a much closer field goal attempt.
And they have to determine their field goal kicker this year. This is a story we haven't had a chance to talk about. Richie Cunningham and Chris Boniol, two rookies, are vying to become the Cowboy field goal kicker. This is a 32-yard attempt, and Cunningham misses, and he is 0 for 3 during the preseason.
But for the guy who is obviously trailing in the kicking derby to be sent out under those conditions in maybe the muddiest part of the field, I don't think Cunningham felt that he was really dealt any favors in being given that assignment.
Boniol was the favorite if you talk to the coaches coming in, the slight favorite coming in, and well, Cunningham misses here. Notwithstanding, he is now 0 for 3 in the preseason.
We saw one earlier. Del Greco eased one through from just about the same spot. But he also slipped and almost fell on that attempt.
A handful of seconds or thereabouts remaining. This will be the end of the first half, I guarantee you. There's a kneel down, and that ends it. And before 112,000, our halftime score is Houston 6, Dallas 0. We'll return from Mexico City after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC station.
NFL football has long been America's passion. Now, NFL fans around the world are part of the experience once again.
It's the best game of the world.
Es ist ein Touchdown, Jimmy. Es ist ein Touchdown.
Ganar un cuarto supertazón, algo que solo ha hecho.
Chris Carter acrobatically pulls it in.
Pushing back.
The NFL around the world. Don't miss it. This message furnished by the National Football League.
Their fight for freedom got...
Back in Mexico City, the Oilers over the Cowboys 6-0 at halftime. Frank Gifford with Al Michaels and Dan Dierdorf, and I don't know whether it's 108 or 112,000. It doesn't matter. That's a lot of folks, and I am impressed. These are really knowledgeable football fans also.
Extremely knowledgeable. And I'm thinking, Frank, that next year you've got Charlotte and Jacksonville coming into the league. That's going to make 30. But, Dan, you know a more perfect number is 32. Someday what the league would like to do, and someday pretty soon, is go to 8 divisions of 4 teams each, which means you're going to see 2 more teams coming in. And the Baltimores and the St. Louises and the runners-up in the last expansion are going to have to battle, I think, the Londons and the Tokyos and the Mexico Cities the next time around.
Well, I don't know that it'll be Europe, Al, but I think certainly Canada and Mexico come into play. Look at the success with the Canadian baseball teams, both Montreal and Toronto, especially Toronto with their ability to draw. And let's face it, this is an unbelievable demonstration of a real desire to see NFL football in Mexico City. And in a city of 21 million plus people, you'd have to think that they could do this 8 or 9 times a year during the course of a regular season. I don't know why they wouldn't.
This is something we had planned to discuss with Commissioner Paul Tagliabue, but we've been told that he's having a difficult time even getting to us from the press box, but we will be talking with him, we hope, during the third quarter. But let's take a look at the scene down on the field. Quite a halftime show, and if the field wasn't hurt by the players, this will take care of it.
Well, you listen to this crowd, it's reminiscent of a Super Bowl or an Olympic-type atmosphere. And the longer we're here and the longer this spectacle continues, I think I speak for all of us, we're pretty much knocked out by this. And if you're the Dallas Cowboys or the Houston Oilers, keep in mind one thing about playing in Mexico City. It's a shorter flight than flying to New York City or flying to the West Coast to play the 49ers or the Rams.
I know one thing, it sure makes preseason a lot more fun.
Indeed it does. We'll be back. Second half action coming up. Houston over Dallas 6-0. Stay with us.
been brought to you by Lexus Luxury Automobiles, the result of a relentless pursuit of perfection. We'll be back with the second half kickoff after this from our ABC stations.
Dad.
Now, here's John Drury.
Good evening. Coming up after Monday Night Football, there's been a nasty collision in Pennsylvania involving two Chicago-bound buses. Pictures of the scene have just come in. Dozens of workers returning from Woodstock 94 are injured. We're live with the latest details and reaction from anxious relatives. O.J. Simpson tested for cancer. Tonight the results are in. We'll tell you what doctors found. Then pelting rain and dangerous winds. Tropical storm Burl hits land. The damage update from Florida. Also, police in hot pursuit of a suspected car thief. You'll see the wild chase and the dramatic ending. In sports, the ailing Michael Jordan heads for a clinic. The latest on his condition. Also, the striking Neon Dion spends his time off shopping for a new football team. Plus, a panty raid like you've never seen before. A clothesline thief makes off with women's underwear. Join Diane Burns and me for Channel 7 News after the game.
ABC's NFL Monday Night Football preseason special, brought to you by new Ice Brewed Ice Draft from Budweiser. Taste the future of draft beer. Chili's like no place else. And the all-new Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today.
Mexico City with Aztec Indian dancers performing their traditional dance for the tourists who congregated here in mid-August of 1994, and 112,376 have congregated at Azteca Stadium in Mexico City as we get ready to start the second half. This crowd has yet to see its first touchdown. Two Del Greco field goals accounting for all of the scoring. Houston leading at the half 6-0. And a Dallas Cowboys fan for sure.
I'm not sure I can recall if I've ever been in a stadium, an outdoor stadium that maintained this level of noise from start to finish. It's never quiet here.
It's almost like the opening or closing ceremonies of the Olympics. There's never a quiet moment. They cheer for anything and everything. A tremendous halftime show was celebrated just like it was the football game.
They sing.
People on their feet.
Yeah, they're doing the wave. They sing throughout the course of the game. And I'll tell you one thing that got me a little bit, and everyone in the United States could take a lesson from this. This stadium was booming when they sang the Mexican national anthem. They were louder than it is in stadiums in the United States where we sing the national anthem, and we could take a lesson in a little patriotism from this crowd. They really get into the singing of their own national anthem.
Well, this is a night they waited for a long time in a stadium that opened in 1968. Olympic soccer was held here, and it's hosted the World Cup twice in 1970 and 1986. Dallas kicks off. Boniol sends it down to the 6-yard line, and Davis runs it back out to the 25-yard line. And we'll take a look at the numbers of the first half of play. The Oilers looking pretty good offensively, much better than the Dallas Cowboys. Even though they put up only 6 points, they pick up 166 total yards.
And the only decent ball movement by the Cowboys was their last possession of the first half when Rodney Peete was in there. Again, a lot of that has to do with whom they're playing, but realistically, it's tough work to get much done on this field. And that man, number 22, if you'll notice by the color of his jersey, has not played tonight. Emmitt Smith told by Barry Switzer to sit this one out. The field's too risky. He might get hurt.
Sean Salisbury is the new quarterback, and that's a nice catch because the receiver, Mario Bailey, fell down, was able to get up and make the play. So Sean Salisbury comes in. He's a former Viking, and in effect, Warren Moon goes to Minnesota, and even though they weren't in the same deal, Sean goes south.
Last time we saw Sean, he was starting a playoff game against the Washington Redskins after the '92 season. Much traveled. He started his career with Seattle. He went to Indianapolis, cut by both teams, went up to Winnipeg, and Canadian Football League and then returned to the Vikings in 1990.
2nd and 4. Spencer Tillman picks up a couple of yards. We mentioned Moon was actually traded, salary cap induced trade to Minnesota for a couple of draft picks. Salisbury was one of the many free agents who just opted to go elsewhere.
I think Moon went for a 4th round draft pick and a 3rd round in 95, something like that.
Conditional, yeah. Bucky Richardson is the 3rd quarterback, and we figure to see him before this night is done. They would like Salisbury to win the number 2 job, even though Richardson has more experience with the run and shoot. That's why they want to get Salisbury as much experience the rest of the preseason as they can with this offense. And the pass goes through the hands of Keith Jack, who until now has looked real good in preseason, a rookie from the University of Houston.
Salisbury had something on that. A tough one to handle for Jack.
3 and out. Punting unit comes in. Kevin Williams back to accept the kick. And Rich Camarillo, another of the new Oilers. Montgomery chose to leave, and Camarillo comes over from the Cardinals to become the new Oiler punter.
And like we talked about a receiver having an advantage on this kind of a field, the return man can make a big thing happen on a sloppy track.
Low snap, but he gets it off, and Williams was having a tough time slogging over to the kick, which lands at the 37 and is down there. Here's a reminder that tomorrow on ABC, a night of laughs, as the fun will begin with Full House and continue with the premiere of She TV, comedy strong enough for a man but made for a woman, tomorrow right here on ABC. And then on a Wednesday, Ed Asner kicks off the night with Thunder Alley, followed by Phenom, and then Home Improvement, Grace Under Fire, and Turning Point, the great Wednesday night lineup here on ABC. Rodney Peete gives the ball to Lincoln Coleman to the 42-yard line for a gain of about 4.
Coleman getting along. Let's see tonight. Not happy with the way he came into training camp with his early preseason performance. He's done better tonight. But as Dan mentioned, with Derek Lassick injured and unavailable for they don't know how long, if anything should happen to the number 1 man, Emmitt Smith, who was held out tonight, well, they'll go looking for another running back.
2nd and 5. Coleman again. Well, it's been pretty copacetic in the Cowboy camp. The uproar, of course, in the spring when Jones and Johnson parted ways and Switzer came in. It's kind of quiet right now, but boy, will that spotlight be turned on September 4th when Dallas plays at Pittsburgh.
You know, even if they go on to win a 3rd consecutive Super Bowl, it's never been done before. I mean, who's going to get the credit for it? Is it going to be Jerry Jones or Barry Switzer? What a tough spot Barry has got himself into.
Cowboy coaches, Jim Eddy, the man in the middle, working with their defensive unit, used to be the defensive coordinator with the Oilers. And moving his way through the middle again is Lincoln Coleman. Barry Switzer is he's in great shape and is a very, what I'd call, sprightly 56, but they're the coaches who've debuted at his age or older. Bud Wilkinson, and Dan played for him, came in 78. He was 9-20. Jerry Burns took over the Vikings, and he was the only one of those 5 who really had a good deal of success. Carson with Cleveland, and then Rust and McPherson, each with New England. But Jerry Burns is the only guy who was able to start that late and keep it going for a while and have what you consider a good deal of success. Rodney Peete off the play fake, slips, and down he goes thanks to the field, and Lathan will get credit for an easy sack. Dan, what was it like when Bud Wilkinson came in at that age and you were playing with the Cardinals?
Well, it's interesting that the 2 great coaches in Oklahoma history both were out of the game for a while. Now, Bud much longer than Barry. Bud was out of the game of football for 16 years. And when he came into St. Louis, it was it was noticeable. I'm not sure Bud should have ever done it. Once you're out of it for that long of a period of time, it's tough to come back in. And obviously, he did not inherit a football team anywhere near as talented as what Barry Switzer had here in Dallas. The other thing Bud Wilkinson had to do was formulate his own staff. That's the biggest thing Barry's got going for him, is it falling right into a really, really good staff.
2nd and 18, and it's Lincoln Coleman picking up about 15 of those 18.
I don't know that any coach has ever, and Frank, you mentioned that, Barry's really got himself into something. Well, a lot of people would love to be where he is right now. It's not often you get an opportunity to coach a football team that has the talent of the Dallas Cowboys. It's a chance of a lifetime. You're right. It's fraught with peril, but you know what? It's the kind of thing coaches live for.
And he seems to be enjoying it 100%.
If you're a coach and it's what you love to do, if you wouldn't want to coach the Dallas Cowboys, there's something wrong with you.
3rd down and a long 4 from the 45-yard line, and throwing into a lot of traffic. He tried to jam it into Willie Jackson, but the coverage was there. And Rodney Peake's drive comes to a halt here. Brett Farnes, the former Ram, knocks it away.
Good look from the end zone. And the outstretched arm of Farnes to deflect the ball.
Mike Teeter also got a piece of it, too.
Fingertip on it.
So Jet comes in to punt to try to pin the Oilers deep. Gorgeous shot of Azteca Stadium. 9:44 to go in the 3rd. And it is fair caught at the 5-yard line.
Ooh, what a great punt.
Not a propitious fair catch call by Gibson there. Houston starts deep in its own territory.
A new wind is rising, bringing change, bringing the all-new Ford Windstar, a totally new minivan. Windstar is the only minivan that combines standard dual airbags, 5-mile-an-hour bumpers, and 4-wheel anti-lock brakes. Plus, it meets all passenger car safety standards. It's safety that takes the minivan in a whole new direction. The all-new front-wheel drive Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today.
Before you try an ice brewed beer,
give me an ice.
Remember, all ice beers start cold, but most are heat pasteurized. Not cool. So get real cold.
Bud Ice.
Bud Ice. It's ice brewed and cold filtered to start cold and stay cold.
Give me an ice.
Ask for icy smooth Bud Ice. New 96-calorie Bud Ice Light.
Well, the commissioner, Paul Tagliabue, has made his way up here, and we mentioned that you were supposed to be with us at the half, but we don't blame you for having trouble getting up here. 112,000. It's got to be a great night for you in the NFL, obviously.
Well, I feel like I had to walk past about 75,000 to get up here. It's a little bit like Super Bowl Sunday, so I apologize.
You're talking franchise for Mexico City. Your thoughts on that, Commissioner?
Well, I think it's becoming a realistic prospect. We knew that there was a tremendous amount of interest in NFL down here. Of course, the Cowboys have driven a lot of it going back to the 70s and through the 80s and now in the 90s. But with what's developing in relations between our two countries and what we see here this week and where we're headed on television here in Mexico, I think it's becoming a prospect on the horizon.
Whether or not it ends up being a franchise or not, in the near future, safe to say the American Bowl will be back here.
Safe to say the American Bowl will be back here. We're already picking the teams downstairs, having a little guessing game.
Can we cast our vote real quickly for us coming back?
Yes, you can.
We'd like to get that in there.
Oh, this is. We mentioned that it's almost like an Olympics or a Super Bowl atmosphere in the way the crowd is responding to everything that's happening. It's taken us by surprise.
As they did on pass interference just there.
Right.
Well, it's really, there are only words like extraordinary that you can use to describe it. Unprecedented, extraordinary, and the superlatives.
And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't congratulate the people behind us. They put so much effort into it. It's been a year in the making it happen. It's just been incredible.
Well, we've had tremendous partners here in Mexico enabling us to do this, and our people and their people have really been working together very, very closely with a lot of creativity, a lot of imagination, and I think we brought together the best of the two nations on one football field.
Spectacular night, really is.
If you were to think further internationally, where might you be thinking, Commissioner?
Well, we'll continue to play games in Europe as we develop the World League over there. Eventually, we may phase out the American Bowl NFL games as the World League takes its own routes. In Asia, I was over there last week in Tokyo, and we're going to look at where we might play elsewhere in Japan, maybe Hong Kong. So this year, in 4 games, we've had over 250,000 fans in 4 cities: Berlin, Barcelona, Tokyo, and now here in Mexico City. So we're ready to move on to the next one, but of course it kicks off here in the States on September 4th, and that's pretty important also.
Paul, I know that it's preseason and you still haven't really evaluated all that's really happened in terms of the rule changes, but what's your initial reaction to some of the things that have been put in?
Well, my initial reaction is that the coaches who really developed these changes had a lot of foresight. It was Marty Schottenheimer, Don Shula, people like that, Tom Flores, one of the competition committee, Dennis Green, Bill Carr, and others, and I think they struck a real good balance between offense and defense. The kickoff, I think they could see what's happened. We have the game back to where it should be. The kickoff's not supposed to be a dead ball play. It's supposed to get the ball in play, and now we're seeing that. And the defense, I think the chucking rules, roughing the passer, it's going to help a lot with those zones that everyone complained about. So I think it's going to work, and I think the coaches get the credit because they came up with the prescription.
That seems to be the feeling amongst the fans as well. Commissioner, great to see you. Congratulations on a big night.
Thank you, and thanks for being here.
Great night. Yeah.
Great night.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Oilers have moved from the shadow of their end zone out to midfield thanks to an interference call, a pass to Tillman. Dave Thomas makes was the man who interfered on the earlier play while we were speaking with the commissioner that enabled Houston to move up the field, and right now they have put the ball into Dallas territory with 7:35 remaining in the third quarter, and 6-0 the Oilers on top. 2nd down and 5. It's John Henry Mills in motion, number 48, and Salisbury's pass is too high. He can gun it, but too high that time and too hard for Travis Hanna. Let's go back and take a look at that interference call on the pass intended for Sebring.
Dave Thomas, number 41, is the one who draws the call. Seaborn was back there.
I can only assume that Thomas was raising his hands and saying to himself, why did I do that, instead of, I can't believe I was called for that. That was pretty obvious.
That cost him 29 yards. 3rd down and 6. 7:18 to go in the third. Oilers on top, 6-0. Salisbury staying in the pocket. And then the secondary did a great job as Sean had a lot of time and then simply ran out of time. Sooner or later, Hervin McCormick, a rookie from Indiana, with a sack.
You touched on something earlier, Al, that Salisbury has not played out of this run and shoot offense. You think back to Warren Moon, we've covered him so many times, and of course Cody Carlson, they are used to it. You look one receiver, if he's not there, you look another, and then you fired one. And that time Cody kind of got caught up in what was going on defensively, and he just had no place to put it.
Salisbury looking a little gimpy as he headed toward the Oilers sideline.
It'll take a little work to get into it.
Rich Camarillo lucky to get the kick away, and it's a poor kick that just dies on the sod at the 22-yard line. So Salisbury trying to shake it off, and Dallas trying to get something going. 6-0 Oilers.
My sister and I, we are nothing alike. I think you were switched at birth. I mean, she likes Chili's tender chicken fajitas topped with guacamole and sour cream. She prefers Chili's sizzling beef fajitas topped with pico de gallo and shredded cheese. So as you can see, we've got nothing in common. But of course, that's pretty obvious.
Hi.
Hi. You see, guys find me irresistible. He was looking at me. Why would he be looking at you when he could be looking at me? Well, look at you. And look at me. He was looking at me.
Is there any cost? The canal scenes here in Mexico City, and those canals form the last remains of a huge lake that used to surround what is now Mexico City. Shout out to the boats, having a great time.
We might point out we have done none of this.
Tommy O'Connell. Drew DeRosa, Jack Savoy, the three amigos.
Boy,
they somehow acquired our hats.
Yes.
Or our sombreros, I guess, to be more correct.
Of all people to have on the sombreros, it would be those three.
Here's Dallas at the 22-yard line. First and 10. They're down 6-0. Rodney Peete turns and gives the ball to Mark Mason, a rookie from Maryland, trying to win a job with Emmitt Smith not playing tonight. Coleman has seen all of the action to this point. And now Mark Mason trying to win a job.
Free agent out of Maryland. Got a few marks there. Over 600 yards rushing a year ago. 5'7", 189-pounder. It'll be tough making this ball club, but who knows? You look well and play outstanding, and somebody else may be watching.
Second down, 7. Hard tackle made up at the 30 after Tony Richardson makes the catch. And that's Darren Wortham, a rookie from the University of Texas El Paso, with the hit.
One of the experiments Houston Oilers are going with, and maybe it's not an experiment anymore, is moving Lamar Latham, their very speedy athletic linebacker, to defensive end. Of course, they lost Sean Jones and William Fuller, who accounted for 23 sacks a year ago, and they need to improve their pass rush, and they're trying Latham a defensive end.
3rd and 2. Dallas from the 30-yard line. And they do not pick up the first as Mark Mason stopped in his tracks. Blaine Bishop comes up from his safety spot to hammer him. 3 and out. Go the Cowboys.
Now that's what you call a little run support by your safety when he's making a tackle in the backfield. That's the way to get up there in a hurry. But you wonder, how much different is it for the Dallas offense if that guy is out on the field?
Bishop might have been dancing more of a polka.
He is not just a great running back. He is one of the finest people ever to walk on a field in the NFL. Quality, quality, quality.
Lee Gessendaner back to receive the kick, calls for a fair catch. Off the jet boot, takes it at the 30-yard line. A 41-yard kick. E. Smith, just a spectator tonight. It'll be a whole other story on September 4th. 4:41 to go in the third.
What is it about Ford Taurus that makes it America's best-selling car? Is it the number of ways it finds to protect you and your passengers? Its confident feel on the road? Or the fact that we improved it over 50 ways to make it the best Taurus ever? Whatever the reasons, you've made Ford Taurus the best-selling car in America. Again.
Some people were born to live the Western life.
All right, then, let's kill some people.
These people...
I couldn't. I'm anti-handgun.
...were born to leave it. John Candy, Richard Lewis, Wagons East. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, August 26th.
Athlete's foot is a predator. To cure it all, you've got to kill it all. Introducing Lotrimin AF spray and powder. Full prescription strength medicine that kills all causes of athlete's foot. New forms, same killer results. Lotrimin AF, the killer cure.
The world's top male gymnasts compete for all-around honors at the Hilton Gymnastics Challenge. Plus the Travers Stakes live Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports.
Mexican version of what would be Pop Warner football. They love to play, and as you can see, one team looking like the Dolphins and the other looking like the Los Angeles Raiders.
Playing on a much more stable field than we are here.
Parents like the parents everywhere.
The game of American football really starting to grow down here in Mexico.
Yep. Chad Hennings. Some of the Cowboys going for that oxygen in this 7,349-foot high altitude. 30-yard line. The Oilers have it. 4:41 to go in the third. They lead 6-0. Salisbury dumps it over the middle. Spencer Tillman. For the sake of the crowd, I just hope they get to see one touchdown tonight. 112,000 looking on, and 2 field goals providing all of the scoring.
And they'll be sorely disappointed if that touchdown isn't scored by the Dallas Cowboys. Again, if you weren't with us early, this crowd here is very much pro-Dallas. The country of Mexico is virtually owned in its sporting allegiance to the NFL by the Dallas Cowboys.
Second down and 8 at the 32. Tip and incomplete. It was Todrick McIntosh, a rookie out of Florida State, national championship team there, who tipped it.
You know, Salisbury just doesn't have that rhythm that the run and shoot has to have. And granted, it's a sloppy field, but run and shoot is really a 1, 2, 3, 4 look fire. And he is so used to dropping back and out of the regular formations and looking over the field, finding the receiver. That's not what the run and shoot is all about. And that's why he's in there getting the extra work tonight.
Kevin Gilbride, he's the guy that talks to the quarterback. The Dallas Cowboys, by the way, aren't going to utilize the coach to quarterback speaker system. Too troublesome.
Third down and 8. And Salisbury under pressure was hit as he threw, and it's incomplete. Fourth down. 3:51 remaining now in the third quarter. 6-0. One thing about this crowd, they are used to seeing zeros up on the scoreboard because they play a lot of soccer in the stadium. Emmitt, look at Emmitt. I don't know if this is part of the NAFTA agreement or what, but he's wearing an Oilers cap.
It's the preseason.
Yeah.
A lot of regular season rules are suspended.
Because during the regular season, if you broke those rules, you'd get suspended. At the 18-yard line, Kevin Williams takes the Camarillo kick and steps out of bounds up at about 27. And this just in, a big trade.
Oh, good. Get yourself out of this one.
August Fools. It's April Fool's Day in Mexico City.
Before you order an ice brewed beer,
Ice me.
remember, all ice beers start cold. But most are heat pasteurized. Not cool. So ask for...
But ice.
It's ice brewed and cold filtered, so it starts cold and stays cold.
You got any ice?
Get real cold with Icy Smooth Bud Ice and new 96-calorie Bud Ice Light.
The winds of change are blowing away old ideas and bringing the all-new Ford Windstar. A totally new minivan. Windstar's innovative design moved the wheels out, stretching the wheelbase, creating the most passenger and cargo room of all leading minivans. And with a quieter interior, Windstar takes the minivan in a whole new direction. The all-new front-wheel drive Ford Windstar. The future of minivans begins today.
Hey dads, coming to ABC, catch a night of movie runs that'll be a hit with your kids and you'll love watching too. The ABC Family Movie starting Saturday, September 10th.
Some obvious audio problem on the field as Lynn Swan was attempting to speak with the ambassador to Mexico. Try to get him back in a second here if we can, as the Dallas Cowboys have it at the 26-yard line. 3:40 remaining in the third quarter, and Houston on top by a score of 6-0 as Tony Richardson is the ball carrier over the right side. He picks up about 4 yards.
You can tell by the number of white shirts that the Cowboys have begun to substitute pretty liberally with their offensive football team. Rodney Peete has been in there a while, but a lot of new offensive linemen and running backs have joined the Cowboy huddle. They haven't looked that good since warm-ups.
2nd and 5 at the 31-yard line. Mark Mason, the Maryland rookie, to the 36. Okay, we've got our audio glitch taken care of. Here's Lynn.
Thank you very much, Al. Mr. Ambassador, we were talking about whether or not you were surprised by the turnout by the Mexican fans to American football.
I'm not really surprised. What has been happening in the last few years between Mexico and the United States is truly developing a partnership relationship, and that's in commerce, it's in business, it's in sports, it's in entertainment, and this doesn't surprise me at all. It just shows the close ties we have.
I know you're from Oklahoma. Does that mean you have a favorite in this particular football game?
Well, as ambassador, I'm for the Texas team, but Barry Switzer is a friend of mine, and Bud Adams is an Oklahoman also.
The commissioner was on talking about coming back here next year. What does this game do for the American citizens who are down here working? How do they feel about it?
Well, we feel very good about it, but I think if the league is looking to expand, Mexico City and Mexico is a natural sports area, and I think it would be good for both countries.
Terrific. Mr. Ambassador, thank you for being here. Al?
All right, thank you, Lynn. And it is 2nd down and 10 for the Dallas Cowboys up at the 37-yard line. The Mudcake Oiler defense has done a stellar job tonight. The Cowboys have been blanked to this point as Mason swings to the outside and gets ridden down on a nice tackle by Lane Bishop.
Of course, neither one of these two teams all that eager to show each other a great deal here tonight. It's only going to be the 2nd week of the regular season that they play one another. The game will be at Texas Stadium on Sunday, September 11th. So these two routinely play for the Governor's Trophy during the preseason, but seldom meet that early during the regular season. So I think both of these guys here are playing it pretty tight here today.
3rd down and 9 at the 38-yard line with 1:40 to play in the 3rd. Houston leading 6-0. Rodney Peete, the ex-USC Trojan, throws, and the pass is incomplete. There's a marker down. Willie Jackson was the intended receiver. Jerry Markbright will tell us about the call in a moment. Rodney Peete.
Illegal contact foul, number 30, defense, 5-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's Mike Davis.
But that's the 3rd one so far this game called on the Oilers secondary. The illegal contact foul again. You only get the 5 yards. Clearly beyond that. And again, that's the type of incidental contact away from the play that last year just wouldn't have gotten called. And an unhappy Jeff Fisher. The defensive people, Frank, think that they're just being singled out for being too good.
Well, Davis is a rookie out of Cincinnati, but he's probably been watching the man who plays ahead of him, Chris Dishman, and that's what Dishman's going to have a problem with this year.
That is not an automatic first down, though. It was 3rd and 9 and a 5-yard penalty, and so on 3rd down and 4, it's incomplete as Shelby Hill.
Well, all defensive backs are going to have that problem this year. You know, they play it tight, and they have become, you know, they've gone to Pro Bowl on those kinds of actions, and they're going to be calling it.
I'm sorry, I misread the penalty call there. That was a first down.
But realistically speaking, a year ago, away from the play, what would have been the odds of that being called? I think next to nothing. There's Bob Young in the shot there, my old teammate with the St. Louis Cardinals, who's done a great job as the offensive line coach of the Oilers.
Jeremy Nunley was the man being assisted from the field, the defensive end for the Oilers.
Yeah, he was their number 2 draft choice this year, the rookie out of Alabama, and hopefully this will not prove to be anything too serious. He's still got his one shoe on. There's Big Bob, one of the fine offensive linemen in Cardinal history, and he was a load. Went to a Pro Bowl when he was 36 years old.
He's slimmed down, hasn't he, Dan?
Hey, looks pretty trim. Well, he was by far and away the strongest guy on our team, and it wasn't even close. Nobody even wanted to be second.
3rd down and 8 is Rodney Peete. Looks one way and then the other, and that's incomplete. And again, the coverage was outstanding. Willie Jackson can't get free tonight, and the coverage provided by Tony Brown. And the fans, well, like fans everywhere, they may love their Cowboys, but they're running out of patience at this point.
One of the important things for the Dallas Cowboys, I think we've pretty much touched on everything about Barry Switzer being here, but is to get off to a fast start. Because when you get off to a fast start, nobody raises doubts. Nobody starts asking questions about how would Jimmy Johnson have done this. If Barry Switzer is able to get his team off to a good start in Pittsburgh, get off to a 2-0 start, then a lot of that stuff gets put on the back burner.
Jets kick is fair caught at the 21 by Gissendaner. And the Oilers will have it with 37 seconds remaining in the third quarter. It's still 6-0 Oilers.
I'm looking forward to the season like a slug looks forward to the rain. I'm talking about the NFL season. I'm talking about brawn and brain. Reggie White, Steve Young, Barry Foster, and players with much longer names. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the season, and especially the two-point conversion. I wrote that.
So, Dave, how was San Francisco?
It was great. Did you drive across the Golden Gate Bridge? No.
Did you see Alcatraz?
Is that there?
Well, what did you do?
I found this sourdough roll.
Introducing Wendy's Sourdough Bacon Cheeseburger. It's a San Francisco-style roll stuffed with a quarter-pound of fresh beef, Monterey Jack, bacon, and Dijon sauce.
Reminds me of when I was in San Francisco. I met this sailor.
Hey, look at the time. Gotta go.
Yep, well, we only went to the library.
You can find it in San Francisco and at any Wendy's.
Last week we were in Buffalo and we saw a sign that said Deardorff for mayor of Munnsville. I'm looking for a Deardorff for mayor of Veracruz tonight.
I don't think they know who any of us are down here. Monday Night Football may be shown in Mexico City, but is with Spanish-speaking announcers calling the action. But still, we're talking about the quick start for Dallas. It's not going to be that easy going on the road to play Pittsburgh, back home to play Houston, and then entertaining Detroit before an open date. That is not a soft open at all.
And it's never easy for the champion either, and you hit it right on the head. If they do not get off to a good start, all those questions will be right in Barry Switzer's face.
Well, the one good thing for Switzer is he at least has Emmitt Smith at the start of the season. Remember, Smith was holding out last year, and Jimmy Johnson did not get off to that good start because Emmitt wasn't there.
And it was really, they opened up at 0-2, and realistically speaking, when Dallas was fielding a regular team, that was the only two games they lost all year.
Right. They lose on Monday night to Washington. They lose to Buffalo, and then later the problems with Emmitt Smith and the hamstring. The other games they lost.
The only other game was the fluke game against Buffalo on Thanksgiving Day.
Miami.
And you take a look at it, in reality, when Dallas wanted to win a football game, they won it. That's how dominant they were in 1993.
Todd McNair, a new Oiler, just carried the ball as you look at a spectacular shot. Azteca Stadium, 112,376 by about 7,000, the most people ever to witness any National Football League game. As the third quarter comes to an end, Houston leads it 6-0 and will return to Mexico City after this word from our ABC station.
It's horrifying. Abused children being returned to parents who abuse again or even kill.
He whipped him with a coat hanger. A coat hanger.
A primetime investigation finds agencies meant to protect children all too often don't. Join us for Primetime, Thursday.
This fall, the adventure begins.
Watch out!
McKenna, coming soon to ABC.
Coming up on Channel 7 News, a bad accident involving 2 Chicago area buses. We're live with details. Also, the results of O.J. Simpson's cancer test. Join us after the game.
20-foot baskets. 300-point games. 100-yard courts. This is the future of the game because an awesome new sports drink is here. All Sport. Unsurpassed taste. A third more carbs than Gatorade for energy. This is a body quencher. After All Sport, the game will never be the same.
When I get a new 24, I think about how to use it. I think 2. I think 3. I think that dude in the third row needs to chill. I think assist. I think about this man checking me and how he's helping my highlight film. I think left. I think right. I think take it strong to the middle. Can you think of a way to stop me? You got 24 seconds.
Witness a hero in action on the next Inside Edition.
The Warriors, that sort of night. Troy Aikman had an early departure tonight after playing about a quarter as the fourth quarter begins. Salisbury throws on the run, and it's incomplete up at the 47-yard line. The pass was intended for Mario Bailey on a 3rd and 4. Oh, we're very happy, of course, to be celebrating an anniversary, the 25th of Monday Night Football. And our final preseason game comes your way next week at 8 Eastern and 5 Pacific. Joe Montana and the Kansas City Chiefs host the Chicago Bears, and then it gets underway for real Labor Day night, the 5th of September, with a terrific matchup from Candlestick Park, the Raiders and the 49ers. 3rd and 4 from the 26-yard line. And this is Todd McNair, who has been playing with the Kansas City Chiefs and was very happy to get a chance to apply his wares someplace else, and just has signed on with Houston carrying the football.
McNair, a fine receiver out of the backfield, used that way by the Kansas City Chiefs so successfully over the years. He was a great 3rd down receiver for them coming out of the backfield, and might fit well into an Oiler attack.
Rich Camarillo punting. Clayton Holmes is back to receive the kick for the Cowboys. 41-yard punt fielded on a bounce. Flag is down at the 50-yard line. I think there's they're throwing so many paper airplanes around that you can't tell whether it's a flag or a yellow paper airplane, but it is a flag this time. And it goes against the Cowboys.
Well, you mentioned the word warrior, Frank, a minute ago. On the right is Ray Childress. On the left,
41,
Lee Williams.
The kick was in the air. 10-yard penalty.
2 mainstays of the Oiler defensive line. Williams had a arthroscopic surgery on his knee back in April, and he'll be ready to go hopefully by the start of the season. Ray Childress there on the right, just a splendid football player. Not your prototypical defensive tackle in the way he's built, being so tall at 6'6", 272, but Warrior describes him perfectly. And there's a piece of artwork, model airplanes all over the place.
You thought I was kidding about those paper planes? I mean, they drop a flag, you have to look twice.
I didn't think you were kidding. They've been hitting us all day.
I know it. 1st and 10 at the 19-yard line. And Jason Garrett, the new quarterback, hits Mark Mason with a little swing pass. Garrett, the second-year QB from Princeton, who did see some action last year after Aikman went down and before they got Bernie Kosar, the number 3 quarterback on the depth chart right now.
Making any type of a cut on this field has become an impossibility. Any receiver back or anything else that attempts to do so is going to do, as we've seen, flat on their back.
Jerry making an early visit to the field tonight. Kind of a one-way conversation, at least the part of it we saw, as Mark Mason takes the ball up to the 25-yard line. This is a monologue, folks. Barry's a great listener. I'll say that for him. This is classic.
Trying to read lips here.
They say that being a great listener is an art form, and it's a
necessary one.
You learn it with maturity and age, and
I'll bet you Jimmy Johnson got a big charge out of that scene. Jimmy, calm down. It's 3rd and 4 at the 25-yard line. Here's Garrett. It's tipped, and it is somewhere in there. Garrett winds up with the football.
Again, that conversation we just saw between Jones and Barry Switzer. This is the preseason. safe to say if this was a regular season, this wouldn't be going on.
Barry hopes.
I think it's safe to say.
So the Cowboys again stopped in their tracks. And John Jett to punt. Travis Hanna to receive it. Snap was offline, but no problem for Jett. Fair catch called for and made at the 44-yard line. 11:58 left in the fourth in Mexico City. 6-0, the Oilers leading the Cowboys.
Dodge Intrepid comes with this fancy bit of electronics that senses when you're carrying passengers and cargo. Knowing that, it can choose shift points to improve performance. But what's more, Intrepid actually learns how you drive by monitoring every mile. It even adjusts shift quality according to your driving habits. Imagine a car learning how to drive, and you're the teacher. Dodge Intrepid. This changes everything.
Give me an ice.
When we come in here, mister, in our baggy civilian shorts and our smart alecky tie-dye t-shirts, what do we order?
Bud Ice?
I can't hear you!
Bud Ice, sir!
And how many do we order?
2, sir!
Bud Ice. It's ice brewed and cold filtered to start cold and stay cold.
Now, something gives me 20!
Fall in for the real cold of icy smooth Bud Ice and new 96-calorie Bud Ice Light.
It's prime time at Arrowhead. Joe Montana and the Chiefs host the Chicago Bears. It's an NFL preseason special next Monday night on ABC.
Little gourmet tour for you coming up. Octopus, anyone?
You try this out?
Not bad. I don't eat vegetables. That looks pretty good, though. I'll take the head.
I knew we'd get to a barbecue.
We don't have the telestrator, though.
This will be our only one of the year.
A little food montage down Mexico way.
The youngins are out tonight, too. A lot of kids here with their moms and dads. And down to the toddlers.
First down for the Oilers from the 44-yard line. Catch is made as Bucky Richardson is in the game. The new quarterback, Travis Hanna, who's been running back kicks tonight, hauls it in Dallas territory at the 43-yard line.
Safe to say that Bucky's one of the more popular Oilers. Came up as an 8th-round pick out of Texas A&M in '92 and just kind of fought his way onto the football team. And now he's got a really good opportunity to be a backup quarterback to Cody Carlson. Has been the 3rd quarterback in the past, but he's played on special teams. He's done it all.
1st and 10 at the 43, and Bucky, when a flag comes in, taken off, and that's what he does so well. To the 28-yard line.
If Bucky was a comedian, he would have gotten his start at the Improv because that is his trademark. Now, sometimes it's to the chagrin of his coaches because he improvises too quickly.
Holding number 60, offense.
You know, Dan,
10-yard
yourself.
penalty. First down.
When that quarterback scrambles out of there, that's the first time. That's the easiest place to hold.
Exactly right. You don't know where he is.
Releases from you, and you have a tendency just to grab.
Well, the man you're blocking sees the quarterback, so there's a sudden change in direction that you're not ready for. There's number 60, Neal, on the left of your screen, and you can see he's got that left arm racked up pretty good. And well, he let him go eventually. That's not the greatest way to get on TV. But again, Richardson always seems to make something happen. He's a lot like a Brett Favre in the sense that some of it's good, some of it's bad.
1st and 20, tries to set up a screen and does so. And it's Ron McNair who's run this play with the Kansas City Chiefs. Looking good. Good stiff arm in an 18-yard gain, but a marker back at the 50.
Now, we just talked about McNair's receiving abilities. Kansas City, he was the 3rd down go-to man for about 3 or 4 years.
ineligible man downfield. That screen was set up, and it took so long to set it up, and it was really on a second effort basis that he got it away, that somebody was downfield too early.
And that the linemen a lot of times go on timing rather than listening to their man yell go.
Eligible receiver downfield on the pass, on the offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
It looked like...
Didn't McNair just come in? You know, I think he came in last week. He set up on the wrong side for that screen. That screen was set to the right. McNair set up to the left.
You could see one of the Oiler offensive linemen was a good 5 yards downfield by the time that pass was caught.
1st and 25 now with 10:28 to go. Fourth quarter. Oilers 6, Cowboys nothing. And a diving catch is not made by Keith Jack. Stretched out for it, couldn't hold it. 2nd and 25.
Jack was kind of the star of their game last week. He had 6 receptions, a touchdown. Their game against the Chargers, and that's pretty good for a free agent rookie who nobody really counted on to do much of anything, and pretty good effort here. Look at that. Ooh, just couldn't control it, but laid out for it. Boy, it's a struggle to get noticed when you're a rookie. There's so much talent, especially on this Oiler team offensively. It is work to catch a coach's eye.
Late in this game, in this kind of field, you're an outside receiver. You're just hanging on.
2nd and 25. And a little mini gain right here. You know, I'm looking at Jack Pardee. Jack is a very humble man, but there is a real overt sign of humility tonight. How many coaches do you know would wear a credential? Somehow, some way, I can't picture Vince Lombardi or Tom Landry or a lot of coaches putting on a credential.
Jerry Jones didn't have one on.
We're in Mexico City, Frank. We're not in Chicago, and we're not in Washington, D.C.
Well, I got to tell you, I was humbled, too. I went down to
wore mine
a while ago. I came back. They weren't going to let me in, and they were not going to let me in either.
And Frank,
I tried to explain that I was important.
There aren't many press boxes in this country that you can't get in. Of course, in this country, we're not in this country.
That's right, we're not in this. That's my point. It's 23. And it's Bucky Richardson scrambling and his frustration showing there.
Where are we anyway?
We ask that every week.
Salisbury
with Carlson going over the
a few pointers
situation. Under 9 minutes to play.
Brand new offense for Salisbury. Something you don't pick up that quickly. They run and shoot.
Look at that field. Camarillo kicking out of a fog. And Clayton Holmes will let it float into the end zone. And we'll step aside with 8:39 remaining in the fourth quarter. It's the Oilers 6 and the Cowboys nothing.
If your bacon cheeseburger isn't flame broiled, fire it.
Welcome to Burger King.
And get a new flame broiled
Bacon Mega Supreme.
The new Bacon Mega Supreme is a third pound of beef broiled over an open flame. And flame broiling beats frying 4 to 1.
Apropos of anything?
Well, Eric Dickerson, a household name here in Mexico City. Bet he wouldn't have needed a credential
I'm
to get
saving everything for another shot of Jerry.
Cowboy cheerleaders making the trip south. They put on a show before the game, and the crowd relished every moment of it.
It was well received. Then the Houston Oilers, their cheerleaders came out, and they were received better than the team. They were applauded. The Oilers were booed roundly.
First down, Dallas from the 20-yard line. Garrett pump fakes. Garrett goes deep. Flag is thrown. The pass intended for Shelby Hill. Interference on Mike Davis.
Davis playing way off Hill. Hill with
pass
an out
interference.
move.
Number 30, defense. Automatic
And
first
no
down.
question about that. With the right elbow. And again, that might have been something that would have slipped by last year, but it will not this year. 24-yard penalty, ball at the 44.
That was a pretty good effort by Davis to keep the receiver from getting back to the ball. That'll bring yellow anytime.
Hill in motion. Garrett looking for that sideline, and it can't come soon enough as he's chased out of bounds by Lemansky Hall.
Jason Garrett, of course, the son of the Dallas Cowboys scout Jim Garrett. And a former Princeton running back. There he is. I knew him when he was a little guy. Jim Garrett used to play with the Giants.
Judd Garrett, his brother, a reserve running back.
Quite an athletic family. Jim's been in the NFL now for over 30 years. And many of those years as a scout with the Dallas Cowboys.
Second and 12. And another marker is down as Mark Mason picks up a couple through the middle. Jerry Markwright.
Offside, number 82, offense. 5-yard penalty, second down.
Caught a shot of Jeremy Nunley a moment ago, number 93, who was shaken up and has his leg bandaged.
As we mentioned, he's the second-round draft pick, and the Oilers really hurting him on that defensive line with the loss of Sean Jones to Green Bay and Fuller to Philadelphia. They represented almost half the number of sacks Houston had last year. And they are looking for help defensively. They did pick up Kenny Davidson, a good defensive end, as a unrestricted free agent from Pittsburgh, but they were expecting big things from Nunley, their second-round draft pick.
Second down and 15 from the Cowboy 39. Garrett throws, and Corey Fleming makes the catch, and another flag is down. And now they say no catch after one official signaled he had it. The other said, I had a better view. He did not.
Does that mean we're not having dinner?
Procedure call against the Dallas Cowboys, and here in the fourth quarter, the play is becoming as sloppy as the field, as we're hard-pressed to run more than 2 plays at a time without some sort of an infraction.
Well, you know
illegal
about preseason
foul. Offense. Penalty is declined. The right guard and right tackle were not on the line of scrimmage.
There's so many different combinations the two coaches go with this late in the game, and the field, of course, is one of the major contributing factor to the timing, which is obviously being thrown off. They're probably not using the plays they came in to use, maybe even not the personnel they came in to use. We know that's the case with Emmitt Smith and probably many other players.
Well, the Cowboys, some of their offensive linemen were called for being too far off the ball.
Third and the length of a pig pen to go. It's 17, and that's going to be grounding.
And there's another flag. Yep.
Lamar Lathan was going to get the sack, and Garrett just got rid of the ball, and they're going to lose the yardage and the down as well.
Well, that's what they wanted from Lamar Lathan when they moved him to defensive end, to use the speed. He's not all that big, but he is quick.
One thing about this crowd, you look around, nobody's left.
Intentional grounding, number 17 offense. Loss of down, fourth down.
Glad you pointed that out, Dan. I was thinking about that. How do we get out of here?
Look at this crowd. Well, maybe we are down. Maybe we're down to the original 108,000 they announced instead of the
we might be
112,000. 112,376.
Great move there by Lathan.
Jet kicks. And there's a marker down again at the 31-yard line. The ball is fair caught.
Actually, the Oilers are doing this with 2 linebackers. Keith McCants, a guy that came out of Alabama as a linebacker, is also trying to be converted into a defensive end. Keep in mind, you have 2 of the really high draft choices back in 1990, and Lamar Lathan and Keith McCants, who are attempting to make that transition to defensive end. McCants was the #1 draft choice of Tampa Bay.
4th player taken in the draft.
Yeah,
Illegal formation foul on the kicking team. 6 men on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Toughest part for Lamar is only being in the mid-250s. It's going to be tough for him to lock up with those big offensive linemen. There's Keith McCants right there. His day's work is over with. Boy, remember we had him in the Sugar Bowl when we had Alabama? What a tremendous college linebacker he was. And Lamar Lathan, who seems to be further along in his development.
Much lighter, though, than McCants. McCants struggled last year with Atlanta, getting really a 3rd shot.
That was the 6th flag on this Cowboy possession. One was the clock. They've got a high snap. And Jet does a nice job to come down with it and get a good kick away, and that one is fair.
But now you'll have ineligible men downfield because it took extra time to get the kick away.
There's your 7th flag. Darryl Johnston actually snapped that ball. Moose does everything.
Yeah, that's unavoidable when the ball is that high and it takes the kicker that long to field it.
Ineligible man downfield on the kick. Number 91, kicking team.
There is
5-yard penalty, 4th down.
Captain of the Dallas Special Teams, and we used that term warrior earlier. Check this out. Pretty good one-handed stab. That's where a punter earns his money, when he's able to get one away like that. That's I think maybe Jet might have a future as a receiver.
Meanwhile, how about Darryl Johnston? Moose snapping here. Their main snapper is Dale Hellestray, but they've got Johnston, the highest paid fullback in the league right now, snapping.
Who just delivered one of the highest snaps in the league.
That one's a lot better. And after 7 flags on one possession, none at the moment. This one is taken at the 35-yard line, and Lee Gissendaner almost broke it. 15-yard return, no flag. Houston has it at the 50-yard line. 50-yard move, 16-yard run back. 7 minutes to play.
Before you order a plain old bottle draft,
give me a draft.
Try one that goes beyond cold filtering.
Bud Ice Draft.
It's ice brewed and cold filtered to start cold and stay cold. So get real cold.
Give me a draft.
With icy smooth Bud Ice and new 96-calorie Bud Ice Light.
The mid-size Dodge Dakota Sport V6 gives you a bigger bed than Ford Ranger or Chevy S10. It gives you a Magnum engine with more horsepower than their base V6s, the safety of available 4-wheel anti-lock brakes, and a standard driver's airbag, something Ranger and S10 don't even offer. So really, the only thing compact about Dakota is the price. Dodge Dakota. A little bigger, a lot better.
Get ready for a high-flying, rim-rattling showdown. The Kings of the Court will be crowned at the National Summer Basketball Championship Sunday on ABC.
That's a fabulous mural inside the presidential palace here. It takes you through the centuries in Mexican history, the pre-Hispanic era to the Spanish takeover to the Constitutional War, the French invasion, the Mexican Revolution. And it was started by Diego Rivera. He began it in 1938 and finished that mural in 1952, and it is spectacular. As is Azteca Stadium on this very pleasant mid-August evening before a crowd of 112,376. The Houston Oilers leading the Dallas Cowboys 6-0.
Well, it would be an absolutely perfect night had we not had that rain just before the kickoff that absolutely ruined this football field.
And created a situation where Emmitt Smith did not see any action tonight and has not played in preseason. As the Oilers take it at the 50-yard line, and Sean Jackson picks up a couple, and let's get an update from Lynn.
Al, you know, we talked about the field and the condition, but we didn't talk about the altitude. Mexico City being some 7,300 feet above sea level. The players came in. Bruce Matthews told me before the game that he felt the altitude before the game even began. And we've seen throughout the ball game a lot of the players just bending over, trying to get their win. This altitude has taken a lot out of them, even though they came into this ball game in pretty good condition.
Second down and 8. They're lucky that it's not bad. It's on the cooler side right now, as again the ball carrier is number 41, Sean Jackson, and also the quality of air in Mexico City, notoriously bad, actually pretty good today.
Well, we had that huge rainstorm yesterday afternoon, and that did a pretty effective job of cleansing the air, and it was relatively clear here today. So you're right, I don't think that they had to deal with that on top of the fact that there's not a lot of oxygen in the breathable air here.
You know, we always talk about the altitude in Denver. We're a couple of thousand feet higher than that. I ski a lot in the Rockies, and I can tell you it does make a major difference when you get up over 6,000 or 7,000 feet.
First down and 10. And again, it is Sean Jackson. And again, a flag is down at the 41-yard line.
You know, last week, let me clear up a little business. We were speculating.
Number 62, offense, 10-yard penalty. First down.
As to the whereabouts of Jimmy Rogers, the singer.
We were.
I found out, by the way, that he's alive and well, living in Branson, Missouri. He's a musical director for a company called Patch Entertainment, and we openly wondered what happened to Jimmy last week. He's about 60, doing well, and we send our best wishes.
And what a guy you are, helping his career along.
Hey, I don't think he needs my help.
You've resurrected him.
Kisses sweeter than wine.
Yeah.
Honeycomb, and a bunch of others.
On first and 20, the catch is made on the far side by Damon Mays, number 13. Problem is, we've all lived so long, you can't remember who's dead or alive anymore.
No, Jimmy is not.
Tim McCarver and Jim Palmer and I doing a baseball game about 2 weeks ago. We're wondering whether Spike Jones was dead or alive. We find out like 5 minutes later. Not only is he dead, he's been dead for 29 years.
Well, he was dead for so long you thought he was alive.
That's right.
That's what happens.
Second and 17 in the quagmire that Azteca Stadium has become. And it's incomplete, even though contact was made. Keith Jack, the intended receiver, by the time contact was made, the ball had passed him.
We have our ABC crew. One of our guys, our associate director, is Jaime Bravo, and Jaime was born here in Mexico City, and his father, we have come to find out, was a very famous bullfighter here in Mexico back during the 50s and the 60s. His father was named Jaime as well, and his mother, actress Ann Robinson, met his father at a bullfight in Tijuana. So a homecoming here for our AD, Jaime Bravo. Ole!
Bravo! Third and 17. And Richardson throws. Good catch is made. The catch is made at the 23-yard line. The way the defensive back was reacting as Mario Bailey pulled it in, you'd have sworn that he knocked it loose. Alfie Birch was very excited about what he had done. And in fact, what he had done is what he thought he'd done. They're ruling it incomplete.
We talked about James Washington maybe inspiring the hitting on this defensive secondary of the Cowboys, and you saw a good example of it right there.
This has become an extremely physical group. And you're right, Washington is the leader of that type of hitting. Birch, a free agent, a rookie from Michigan. Again, it's all about catching a coach's eye.
Receiver didn't have possession with both feet on the ground, therefore an incomplete pass instead of a completion and a fumble out of bounds, and that is a bad-looking punt,
but no flag. First one in out of 4 or 5 that we have not seen a penalty flag. Special teams very difficult to get together in the early preseason. Trying a lot of people in different roles.
Camarillo's punt, 14 yards, 4:17 remaining in the fourth quarter. This crowd,
they're sitting there thinking, can you believe the Dallas Cowboys are getting shut out?
Yeah. their team.
And this is a 6-0 ball game.
And they haven't seen a touchdown. From the 32-yard line, catch is made by Shelby Hill.
Kids are kids, no matter where.
Shelby Hill is the son of a former NFL player, J.D. Hill, free agent out of Syracuse, trying to make this ball club.
It is 2nd down and 1 from the 41. And they give it to the up back, the fullback. The first man through is Tony Richardson. Keith Jack on the Houston sideline. Clock showing that much time remaining and ticking down in Mexico City, where we've got some drizzle again. I love those green rain jackets. What do you call them? Ponchos?
Ponchos. They look like big trash bags.
From the 43-yard line, catch is made. Here's Hill, and he gets dragged down at the 43. And this would really be a dream ending for this crowd if the Dallas Cowboys could somehow pull this one out at the end. Good beginning of this drive. First down at the 42 of Houston.
Hill's got some speed. Got some size too, 6-footer. About 200 pounds. And clocking at Syracuse 4.23. Go to 40.
That's picking him up and laying him down.
Flying.
Here's Garrett going deep. He's got Hill, and Hill loses the football. I think they're going to call it a complete pass and a Houston recovery. Crowd is loving every moment of it, but I think Houston's going to wind up with the football, and they are.
The two officials were right on top of it, and I don't think there's going to be any question. Shelby Hill could have been hero one.
Well, he was separated from the ball by a Titanic hit. Emmanuel Martin tattooed Shelby Hill, and that's what drops him off. What a beautifully thrown ball by Jason Garrett. You can't drop it in any better than this.
Right on stride.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, he's got it.
But he never got a chance to pull it back into his body, and Martin comes over and separates him from the ball. Shelby Hill just didn't get a chance to get it back up to his body where he could protect the football.
And Tony Brown was there to recover it. Number 22 will come into the picture as Hill can't hold it. And Tony Brown winds up with the football, and Houston has it at the 1-yard line. And Richardson gives them some breathing space, takes it out to the 3. Cowboys have not indicated they want to take a timeout here, which wouldn't be a bad idea.
Well, this is preseason. Regular season, you would have seen a timeout.
Well, now, let's see. Well, one clock says 2 minutes, and one clock says 2:02. We're going to assume it's the 2-minute warning. 6-0 Houston.
We can't resist comparing Dodge Dakota Club Cab to Ford Ranger and Chevy S10. After all, the mid-size Dakota has a roomier cab, a bigger bed, more towing capacity, and more standard horsepower. But one thing you won't see is a comparison of available V8 engines, because with Ranger and S10, you can't get one. Dodge Dakota, a little bigger, a lot better.
In the heat of desire, passion can turn to suspicion. Love can turn to deception. Nothing is what it seems when day turns to night. Bruce Willis, Color of Night, rated R. Starts Friday, August 19th.
the serpent, the statue of Aztecs, at the site of the discovery of Mexico City by the Aztecs, is seen in a vision. A beautiful monument depicting that event. And we hope you've enjoyed the shots we've given you and the scenics we've provided of historic Ciudad de Mexico, District Federal, where tonight the biggest crowd ever to watch an NFL game. We'll watch the last 2 minutes of the game with Houston backed up deep in its own territory. 2nd down and 7 from the 4. Jerry Markwright says momentarily.
False start prior to the snap. Number 42, offense. Half the distance to the goal. 2nd down.
Tommy Stowers.
Well, the type of situation where if by chance the Houston Oilers wouldn't get out of here, and if they don't advance another 5 or 6 yards, if this was a regular season game, would it be wise for them to take a safety? They need some positive yardage here.
Sean Jackson out to the 4-yard line.
He's commenting while we were away at a commercial, the first cut for the NFL will not be until a week from Tuesday.
Timeout called by Dallas here. Kevin Gilbride ready to send in the next play.
If they don't get a lot of yardage, if they don't get another, not just a first down, but if they don't advance the ball up somewhere close to the 10-yard line to give them enough room to punt the ball out of there, it wouldn't be the end of the world for the Oilers to go ahead and take the safety, make it a 6-2 ball game, and then kick the ball away with a free kick from the 20-yard line, still realizing that it takes a Dallas touchdown for them to win the ball game.
Well, we want to send a special thanks along to our crew doing such a great job coming across the border and going through the custom situation that you have to go through every time you transport equipment and do a lot of different things. And Televiso, the Mexican network, providing so much of the assistance for our core crew, producer Kenny Wolf and director Craig Janoff. Our crack team, Steve Hurt, traveling with us as always. Jorge Hill on the stats, and Mazatlan Kelly Hayes, our spotter supreme, working as always. 3rd down and 7 from the 4-yard line. And the catch is, the Cowboys say no, the officials say,
they say yes.
Yes, so far at the 19-yard line. It's caught by Mario Bailey.
What a play by the Buckster.
There goes your safety.
How about Bucky back in the end zone, reversing direction and throwing that thing off balance right into the middle of the Dallas traffic.
What an effort that is. And that ball has something on it.
That's a very creative play by Bucky. A good catch and a good call by the officials awarding the reception.
He does make things happen.
Yeah.
I'd love to tell you what they're chanting, but I don't have a clue right now. You know, we travel around enough, and you know all of the chants in every stadium. I think that one escaped us.
Yeah, nobody has left yet. It's time to leave, people.
They were chanting, "What's on Wide World of Sports" this Saturday.
And here's the answer. Saturday, you'll see the Hilton Gymnastics Challenge, and also the Travers Stakes from Saratoga is one of the great races of the summer season. I believe Holy Bull and Tabasco Cat are going to have at it.
Now you don't have baseball out, you might wander up there and give us a horse race.
Oh, I may go to OTB anyway, if nothing else. Baseball strike continues. Nothing further to report on that. And the preseason moves along for the NFL. We'll be in Kansas City next Monday. And then on Labor Day night, we begin the regular season with the Raiders visiting the 49ers.
And that cut we were speaking of a moment ago will be to 60 next Tuesday. Time running out for a lot of would-be NFLers.
Oilers have it up at the 19-yard line, and they go into their prevent offense here, as they'll do what they can to run down the clock to the dismay of
112,000 people are not going to like this.
Jack O'Hara is our executive producer, and as we mentioned, Ken Wolf, so brilliantly producing tonight's game, directed by Craig Janoff. Joe Chavo, our TD. We talked about Jaime Bravo before, our AD, Bob Simon, our production manager, and all of the rest of the gang who've enjoyed the stay in Mexico City, part of history, with 112,376 watching NFL action. We want to thank Northwest Mobile for providing the truck. And Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys will truck on home to Dallas. So the crowd disappointed in one sense. The Cowboys, their favorites, were a loser, but in another way, it was very much a celebration here in Mexico tonight. The biggest crowd ever to witness an NFL game looking on, and the Oilers and the Cowboys wind up with Houston winning it by a score of 6-0. Next week we'll be in Kansas City. The Chiefs hosting the Chicago Bears. Until then, Al Michaels, Frank Gifford, Dan Dierdorf, Lynn Swan. Adios from Mexico.
ABC's NFL Monday Night Football preseason special has been brought to you by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation. The Discover card. It pays to discover the card that pays you back. IBM. There's never been a better time to do business with IBM. And new Ice Brewed Ice Draft from Budweiser. Taste the future of draft beer. Saturday, ABC's Wide World of Sports presents the men's all-around competition from the Hilton Gymnastics Challenge. Plus, it's off to Saratoga for horse racing's Midsummer Classic, the Travers Stakes Live. Now, except on the West Coast, stay tuned for your late local news at ABC News Nightline over most of these ABC stations. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.
A promotional fee has been paid by Northwest Airlines, with 43,000 people proudly serving the world and you.
Some people just know how